Let me put it to you this way. We are proud of being black and of our black heritage. But white America does not accept the concept that this is a multiracial society. It has never accepted the fact that there are black people, brown people, yellow people here alongside them. They've always looked upon America as being white. And hence, all of its propaganda is directed at us to convince us that somehow or the other we must become white before they will accept us. Even a publication like Ebony, with a subscription of something like 800,000 Negro subscribers, is written for what we call the low visibility Negro, the light-skinned Negro. With a rare exception, Ebony never features the activities of the black man in this country. It's always that low visibility, the almost white Negro. And how you too can be this way one day if you use some of the skin lighteners that they run in their advertisement. I mean, when it runs ads like Dr. Fred Palmer's skin whiteners, it is denial of the fact that black people exist. That somehow or the other, in order for us to exist, we must resort to using hair straighteners so our hair won't be kinky. That somehow if we could only hide our blackness, we can then become part of this thing called the American melting pot or the Americans.
Welcome to another episode of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's poppin', my friends, my family? We are back. Another edition of Nick and CJ. A lot of great stuff to talk about. We got a lot of great shows for you guys this week as well. A lot of great guests. We have Brown Gray. She's going to join us on Thursday. I got Nico House joining me on Friday for the same time slot. So we got a lot of stuff coming up, and we got a great show for you guys today. What's going on, CJ?
Yeah, just a programming note. My 4-year-old is home with a little bit of a cough and cold, but she's she's playing like normal, but you might hear her in the background.
I can take over if you need to.
I'm just saying, if I gotta go, I'll go, but I'll let you know. But yeah, that's just letting everybody know a surprise could happen any moment, and she's quite an actress, I should say. All right, but this is a hot topic, Nick, and I'll bring back the graphic just to scare people again, I guess. But this is the graphic uniting Marxists and MAGA, and this kind of stems. This is a good topic, but this kind of stems from a tweet, and we'll get to that later from Jackson Hinkle. But before we get to the tweet, before we go a deep dive, when people saw that we're doing this topic, what are some of the things you saw online before I tell you what I saw?
It's funny because people was like, well, they always wonder what side we're going to take on these issues. I was out a lot yesterday, and I saw this fucking giant fight. Jackson is really good at getting his messaging out there, especially since his platform has grown. Yeah. So there's like a lot of people who, especially liberals, who hate Jackson. So they help amplify his message too. It's oddly enough they help amplify his message too, because I saw this was a big thing. Everyone was fighting over it.
Yeah.
So it should be a good. I think there's a lot of nuance to talk about in this. I think there's a lot of nuance to have.
Oh, there's layers upon layers to.
Yeah, that's why we decided to have this conversation.
Talk about. There's layers upon layers. But I'm curious when you say liberals, because I've been focused on what leftists or so-called leftists or self-identified leftists have been saying about this. So you've been hearing about liberals too. So I'm curious once we get this discussion. Go ahead.
With people like Jimmy and Jackson is both, because they would the same thing happened to me all the time. Well, I'll just be chilling. I'll be on Twitter just talking shit. Fuck Joe Biden and Democratic Party. Fuck Joe Biden and Democratic Party. Then the liberals will amplify it. They're like, look at this red, brown, crazy motherfucker. And then leftists after that, right?
So yes, it's usually liberals first. It's usually liberals first.
So that's just what I know. I may be wrong, but this is what I personally know. I know it's that Jackson or Jimmy, they would tweet something, they would have a video about something. Once again, just like me, they be just like me. We talking our shit. Then people will get mad. They'll blow up, and I'll just see it, and then it leads to these kind of conversations. And I saw liberals, they will get mad first, they amplify it, and then I see real leftists like Mark Kimberly and Danny Highfall that we have on the show as well. They usually would chime in as well.
Now why liberals hopped on it first, because of this recent Fox News. They're like, oh, this fucker went full. That's what they've been saying. He went full conservative. So now they feel like he is now part of the Red Alliance, even if it's satellite alliance, like not
they already
totally.
They already had reasons to hate Jackson when he started going on Jimmy's show, but now when he went on Tucker,
yeah,
it's over. It's over now. So I think that's what really blew this up. And when I talked to Jackson I think like a week ago or so, I was like, "Yo, we were talking about patriotic socialism because you're doing a good job at putting these ideas out here and always lead to discourse, which I think we can, and that's what RBN is here for as well, to put this perspective that a lot of people not used to seeing, the Black Marxist perspective, the Black left perspective. And not everyone in RB, like whether you guys know it or not everyone in RBN agree on stuff. And it'd be interesting for us to talk about this. And we welcome wide varied opinions. We just give ours on these conversation.
We present RBN does that very well. We present a very united front, but it's a genuine.
At least people confused.
Right. That's why but I think it's a genuine. That's why it seemed. That's why people like it. But let's get to the logistics. Let's like the stream. We have 163 people. This is a big topic. So we would like to have a ton of people in the chat. We already have about 80 comments. We had like 30 comments and before we even started streaming.
I missed a lot of them.
Yeah, so we're gonna go. So maybe we got to make sure no super chats are in here too. So so please like this stream.
Yeah, well, we can start with this one if you want. This is a quick super chat. Just start 499.
Yeah, go ahead.
MAGA communism is an interesting idea. What is that? Curious about y'all thoughts. Cheers. And I swear I'm gonna answer this because we're gonna get to the topic soon.
When he says cheers, that tells me he's from Europe, maybe Germany, because that's how they greet each other in Germany.
Yeah. As you guys gonna see, MAGA communism, I haven't seen it, but we're gonna talk about that here very soon. It's an interesting idea. It's an idea that I haven't seen in the streets. That's all I'm gonna say. And then you guys will see the rest of my breakdown here soon. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, so we are at about 60 likes. The last time I checked, I know we probably went up, but can we push that to maybe 125? We're at 183 people watching. That should be quite easy. Let's push it to 125. Let's get some more people. I'm hoping to get people with a different opinion. But I think this topic, Nick, is going to bring in people with different opinion, even on the same side. Like if you're a leftist, consider yourself a leftist, you're going to see different opinions coming out with this particular topic. So yeah, please like the stream. Also, if you want to get notifications when we do streams like this, join our Substack. It's on your screen. All you have to do is go to the link and enter your email address, and that's it. It's very quick, and you'll get notifications when we do streams. Now, eventually, when we get the time and the funding to be able to sustain, to be able to do this full time, we'll be able to devote time to actually writing pieces for our Substack. So that is coming. It's just not here quite yet. So let's go ahead and
I'm gonna do a call in at 8 p.m. Central today. And I'm gonna do it on the same topic. I want.
People gonna want to talk about this. That shit's gonna be lit.
CJ, you gotta join if you're free. I know you're a lot.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll jump in at some point. I'll be picking up. Yeah. I'm the person that picks up. My wife has a more stringent work schedule, so I have to be picking up girls, and so yeah, I'll do that, and then I'll hop in for sure. I'll jump on, especially since it's just a call, and I can be actually driving and doing that. So
it should be fun.
But Nick, I wanted to start with where this all started, and that is Jackson Hinkle's tweet. Is that what's up there? Yeah. So let me blow it up just a little bit so that we can see it slightly better. Maybe there. Okay. So so this is not the initial tweet. So my bad. Hold on. Let me go to the initial tweets.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is it. No, this is
a good one to start off.
Yeah, I don't know the order either. Yeah, I don't know the order, but this is it right here. So let me read it. So Jackson Hinkle, liberals are attempting to cancel me because we are uniting Marxists and MAGA to overcome the deep state and globalists. A clear sign they are worried about the power of this coalition. So Did you see his tweet first before you saw the quote tweeted? So what was your initial thought of the tweet before you saw everybody's reaction?
So the initial thought of this tweet, there's a few things to break down. The first thing that comes to mind is that he's right on one front. The establishment, and that's the people we call the liberals, right? I call them the liberals all the time because these are the people who run the Democratic Party. These are the social democrats, the people who are DSA who think they're radical socialists, but they're really just liberals because they're reformists. And there are a lot of people who think liberalism is good. That's fair. I'm just calling it what it is. You are a liberal, and then
you're a reformist,
who they call corporate Democrats and Republicans are neoliberals. They straight up believe in laissez-faire economics. They believe in strong military and national defense. These are their original terms. I'm not allowing culture to dumb this down for me. I know what these terms mean. That way it is. The progressives are liberals. The Democrats and Republicans are neoliberals. And you have the liberals, they're working together with the Democratic neoliberals to stop working class people to come together. So there's a part of what his tweet is saying, which is 100% true. Where there's like this liberal class that want to stop this coalition of people who are anti-war. I see, like even people who are good faith, and you guys can see my take later. I see a lot of these MAGA people are clowns, but there are like ordinary right-wing people who you can 100% work with. But any suggestion of working with them, they will call you a Nazi while they support arming Ukraine, by the way. But hey, real Nazis.
That's what's so funny.
But go ahead, CJ. I want your take.
No, that's just so funny. I mean, for me, when I saw this, I felt just like a wave of anxiety. I'm just joking, but like a wave of just a bunch of different emotions because there's so many layers just in these two sentences. But the phrasing here is something that's distinct to me, and we're gonna get to that when we get to Margaret Kimberly's tweet, because Marxists explicitly use the term capitalist.
Right.
That's what Marxists do. So this is a little concerning to me in particular.
And we had our conversation.
What we're talking about.
I call it the real problem is capitalism. And it's always been capitalism, colonialism. The international alliance between capitalists is not a new phenomenon. The right wing use the term globalist because they are afraid to criticize capitalism. So they create this term that is very vague. You got a lot of right wingers who believe in very strict border policies, which I take no stock in the borders that colonizers drew up, that they manipulate and they play with at their own leisure. So when you use the term globalist, and then you can trick a lot of MAGA people they think that you're talking about what they're talking about, which is not actually educating and getting people on your side.
Right.
You're just tricking people and thinking that they agree with you when you really don't.
Right. So that is separate from capitalism. You having people think that it's separate from capitalism, and that to me is the problem. But you're also allowing the co-opting of the word, even if it's from bad faith actors, by using it, saying globalist is also a Jewish slant, which it can be. It can be. That is just because that's the Jewish slur is that they're globalists, is that they're the ones controlling the world. That is the Jewish slur. If you see a lot of the old sort of political cartoon drawings, you'll see when they depict Jews, they're big and fat, living high on the hog sort of thing. But there's always globes by them. And that's what they're referring. They're controlling the world. So that's another issue with allowing the co-opting for that. Go ahead.
That's the thing. You're not educating those people, because when Jackson used it, and we talk about it, I don't think he's being anti-Semitic when he uses it.
No, not at all.
But when you trick people, you're not educating them on why that's bad. We're saying, hey, why you use the term globalist? Why singling out Jews when it's all capitalists? So you see how there's an educational bridging that we're doing, but what they're doing, they just tricking them. Oh yeah, is they on our side? We think they're on our side, right? And and to this point, I've been very open, and we're gonna get to some responses soon. I'm a very open advocate of working with people I disagree with in coalitions on issues that I think is very important. I want to march with a Trump supporter to get health care. I want to march with a Trump supporter to end the wars. You guys want to know the problem? I've been in marches for health care. I've been at marches for ending the wars, and they haven't been there. This alliance is a myth. Where is these Trump supporters? Like, bro, I've seen all these anti-war rallies, bro. Like, where they are
They're
not
not there.
putting pressure on the two-party duopoly, guys. When we say we are against the two-party duopoly, I am not saying I'm against the two-party duopoly except one side. So what are we saying here? Are we saying Marxists and MAGA? So when you say MAGA, what does that mean? Are you talking about a guy who still votes Trump, a guy who still votes Republican? So if you vote for the two-party duopoly, you are destroying all the work we are doing. You guys see the problem there? So when you say you want to work with people you disagree with, I am there too. I am a Marxist who want to work with conservatives on ending the wars. But I feel like we're taking one step forward, two steps back when we work together online, and then you vote for a fucking war criminal. You guys see how that doesn't make sense? That's the only question I have. What do you guys mean by MAGA? Do you guys talk about someone who was motivated by Trump, but who's against the Republican Party now? Because if you're talking about people who still vote Republican and still support the Republican,
right? That's right. Like Marxists aren't participating. So I don't. So that's another layer of this. Why isn't Blue MAGA included in this?
Yes, that's what I was saying.
That's an issue for me because it almost leads you down a couple of paths. One path can be the blue side is part of this, the Marxist side, which I don't think that's what he's saying. Or you're saying the blue side is not included in this.
What's the difference between this and
which is being part of the culture war, which is really just pandering to MAGA. You get what I'm saying? So It's not just Marxist MAGA, it's Marxist MAGA, liberal, green, no affiliation. You get what I'm saying? It's everybody, and that's why I don't understand where's the blue on here. So again, so let me read it again. Liberals are attempting to cancel me because we are. So maybe there's another tweet that's not related, but this is the tweet that he included Marxists. And because he went on, this is obviously a reaction to when he went on Fox News when he's talking about liberals have had a backlash. But this is truly clear, is that people will be afraid of this powerful alliance of working class people, not necessarily MAGA, because it includes MAGA, it includes liberals, it includes K-Hive, it includes all these people. We're talking about the proletariat. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, that's exactly true, which is why I said this tweet is partially right, because there are the liberal establishment that don't want the working class coalition to come together. My question is, who is the MAGA we talking about? Because what's the difference between having this strategy and Justice Democrats? I'm asking you guys that sincerely. The idea of Justice Democrats is we work with Democrats to fight the establishment. This is the same idea, but with Republicans. I'm sorry. When RBN said we are against the two-party duopoly, we said we are against the two-party duopoly. Are we clear? That includes people who vote Republican and Democrat. If you guys are still enabling the corrupt politicians, you are unserious. That is the message of RBN. That does not change whether you vote Democrat or Republican. And if we say that, and then the MAGA person's like, oh my God, you dissing Trump, that shows that you guys, he shows what side he's on. We should be able to say, don't vote Trump, don't vote Republican.
Right.
Disown your party. If they are not willing to do that, they are not serious.
Right. Just as we criticize the Democrats, Joe Biden, we're going to criticize Donald Trump, Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, all of them down the line, like Mike Pence, like all of them the same. And you should not have a reaction if you're talking about defeating them, which is what we're talking about. Isn't that what we're talking about? And another concern for me, let me just put it out there. This is not really controversial, is that we're going to be looking at a video from a Marxist perspective. It's a person, Irish Marxist channel I lean on for some Marxist perspective to watch, or as far as to use in our streams. And one of the things he says about revolutionists is when we're doing these coalitions, we have to make clear in the coalition what we're standing for and how we're not coming on, like we're not joining what they believe in. Like we're not joining what MAGA believes in. we're joining together to fight a single particular issue. So like you said, Medicare for all. So if MAGA said, let's join together with Marxists to go and push for Medicare for all, that's a single issue that we're coalitioning on.
Exactly.
That doesn't require ideologies to mesh, ideologies to overlap. That's okay. But if you're talking about, you're not talking about attacking the deep state or the globalists, aka the capitalists, because a lot of the MAGA people are capitalists, because they don't understand when you're talking about globalists, you're really talking about capitalists.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene ran a campaign ad where she said we should shoot socialists. So if someone votes for that, how am I like? That's someone who's not serious about the revolution, and someone who vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene and support Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's against Medicare for all, by the way.
Right.
How is that a serious coalition? What we are saying is clear. We are willing to form coalitions with people we disagree with on issues we can advance. If you are hardcore MAGA, like going to Trump rallies, supporting Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's not them. And you guys notice I only notice one side calling for this. You guys see this? How many big conservative accounts have you guys seen? Let's make a coalition with Marxists. Have you guys ever seen Candace Owens tweet? Oh, I got an idea, guys. Let's form a coalition with socialists. This isn't, honestly, this look embarrassing because it's like we bootleg and you grovel to the ground of MAGA. You want them to, I don't see no one in MAGA that wants to work with socialists, like in among the movement, among the partisans.
Right. Nobody coming rising above the fray, above all the disagreements to say, hey, let's get the working class. Nobody's doing that.
It's only the Marxists who sink their head low and they're like, we're gonna agree with you on culture war issues. So do you love me? Do you love me? Like, fuck no, I'm not gonna beg you guys to love me. And that's what it seems like a lot of these people are doing. Hey, let's form this coalition. And I literally saw a few tweets, I didn't tweet it out, where mad people like, no, you're a communist, fuck you. So it's like, what? It's embarrassing, bro. I got one. It's embarrassing to see Marxists and socialists beg for this coalition that they don't want to have. That even the MAGA don't want to happen. They already got power, bro. They had their Republican president. So why would they need you? So do you guys see the problem there? There's a power imbalance. I'm not for that power imbalance. I'm like, let's defeat them. Let's build our own coalition. And if you're a former MAGA and you want to rebuke them, and you want to say you're not going to vote Republican anymore, welcome aboard. But you're talking about people who currently MAGA?
Right. That'll be like us teaming up with people currently vote blue no matter who. Like, what is no difference? It's the same duopoly, the same entrenched imperialism, the same entrenched capitalism, the same entrenched, oppression, repression, police state, military state. Like, that's why it's like, are we clear on what we're even uniting against? So I think it's a good opportunity here, Nick, for me to bring up the Marxist video that we're going to be intertwining here in a discussion. And we're going to come back to the tweets and the response. But we need to kind of now talk about, like, what are we talking about? Uniting where and what? So let's listen to a little bit of it. We might play a total of 4 minutes of this, four and a half minutes of this, but not succinctly. We might skip through. But let's listen to what we're talking, or let's make clear what we're talking about here from the perspective of revolutionary side, the Marxist side. So let me read this. He has up here. Wait, let me make sure it's up there. Yeah, thanks. Let me go back to where I left off. All right, so unity is a great thing and a great slogan, but what the workers' cause need is the unity of Marxists, not unity between Marxists and opponents.
Yes.
And distorters of Marxism. And that's Mr. Lenin there. So now let's continue with the video.
A question often raised in left-wing circles.
So I forgot to sort of hedge this. So this video is zeroing in on leftist unity, but they're talking about liberalism. And the reason I'm using this as an example, because conservatism, MAGA, that's all liberalism. One can be neoliberalism or liberalism, like Nick was explaining. So it's the same concept of understanding when and where to coalition and the types of coalitions. So I don't want you to, zero in that he's talking about left unity, because this applies to Marxists uniting with anyone. And this video just specifically talks about the left. I tried to look for it, Nick. There's no Marxist uniting with capitalist videos. I can't find find one, Nick. Believe it or not, this is the first attempt at this.
By the way, we can finish the video. I also see Jackson in the comments too. I want to put his comment up.
Oh, Jackson's here. Oh, right on.
Yeah,
maybe he wants to join. If he's able to join, I'm down to let him on.
Down,
we can have this conversation.
Jackson, if you're available, CJ's down, so you can jump on too. Because we can finish watching this video. Cause I don't want to derail your segment. But I see a few comments. But let's play the video.
Let's play the video, and then we'll do that. But let's listen.
Is that of the unity of the left? According to those who raised this question, it'd be desirable if everyone on the vast and very vaguely defined left could unite to form some kind of giant left-wing organization, which would somehow encompass everyone from social democrats to anarchists to Marxist, Leninist, Maoists.
Now, so like I was saying, now include everybody from anarchists, Marxists, Leninist, Maoists, to liberals, to conservatives. That is the point of what Jackson is saying in his tweet. Or that's the gist of what I get. That may not be the point of what he's saying. If he's able to jump on, maybe he can clarify that. So I'm just clarifying how this also applies to that. So we're talking about uniting all these different ideologies from conservatism or Trumpism or MAGA, being a MAGA Republican, from liberals, because we have to include the vote blue no matter who crowd. That's part of any sort of uniting. And then we're talking about the left. So all of these ideologies, it's hard enough to do it on the left, but now we're including the middle, liberals, and the conservative right.
While this kind of left unity certainly comes across as a great slogan, it papers over the very real principled opposition between revolutionaries and reformists on the left.
This is the point that we're bringing up. Like, there could be some sort of topic-specific sort of coalition. But to say that this is going to be some sort of coalition to bring down capitalism when some MAGA believe are still capitalists, that's just not so. But let's continue the video.
Some who promote this idea are genuinely well-intentioned, such as those who are new to left-wing politics and who don't yet fully understand why there are...
I think that also applies to Jackson, is that I don't think he is coming from a place where he's not genuine. Like, this is something genuine he believes can work. So that's not the critique. That's not the critique that he's phony about this. This is him genuinely thinking this can work.
Ideas. I think that's all this is.
Right, exactly.
There are so many different left-wing ideologies. The slogan of left unity is too often advanced in an attempt to bring revolutionaries under the leadership of reformism.
Now, this is the part I wanted to stop. Originally, this is the first part, but I stopped it many more times. Let me let him say that last sentence again, and then I'm going to make it applicable to here, to this discussion. So listen to the attempt of bringing revolutionaries and reformists, or many different people under one, is to bring the revolutionists, the people who are furthest left, under the control of the reformists. So let's listen to that again.
Politics and who don't yet fully understand why there are so many different left-wing ideologies. The slogan of left unity is too often advanced in an attempt to bring revolutionaries under the leadership of reformism. And
that's the part also that makes me, that we as revolutionists and Marxists have to make clear, is that any coalition with MAGA is not any attempt to bring Marxists under, or revolutions, maybe they're not Marxists, but they could be revolutionists under the control of MAGA. That's not at all. We have to make clear as Marxists and revolutionists, that's not the case. So let's continue to play.
An attempt to rally radically different sections of the left behind their chosen representatives of parliamentarism in an unprincipled unity, which historically hasn't worked out so well for revolution.
So that's a term to keep in mind, unprincipled unity, because that's what this would be. Because we're not principled on ideology, the ideology of Marxism, the critique of capitalism. So this would be considered an unprincipled unity.
Revolutionaries. But as Lenin points out, the slogan of left unity is a popular one, and therefore revolutionaries must deal with it comprehensively to put to bed any misconceptions of elitism, puritanism, or ivory towers, and outline the true basis for the different forms of unity of revolutionary and progressive forces that exist, rooted firmly in the science of Marxism, rather than bourgeois liberal co-optational approaches. And importantly, there are different types of left unity, not just the drive for one big tent left-wing organisation, but also single-issue tactical unity, unity in mass organisations of the United Front, and unity within revolutionary parties themselves.
This is where we'll pause it, Nick, to sort of broaden the discussion. What we're mainly talking about is tactical unity, Nick. But the next level would be united front. That's unity between ideologies. That would be like overlapping ideologies. So that would be revolutionaries and progressives. Then the Revolutionary Party, that's unity of Marxists. So of course that's the different types of unities. But that's
a very smart way of saying what I was saying, right? That's a much more organized,
right?
Very based.
Well, I love how I've had this topic, Nick. I have a bunch of topics that come up when I come to my head. I put it in my drafts. So this has been sitting for about a month. But I wanted to do a video on the types of coalitions we can do with reformists, but this applies to this. This applies to this. So that's why we said there's layers to what Jackson said. It's not all, in my opinion, and maybe from the opinion from RBN and yours too, because I heard you say this, it's not all wrong, it's not all right. There is a tactical unity that we can do. This is single issue campaigns, like we said, Medicare for all, Nick. And let me let him speak a little bit more about that, because he goes in a little bit more detail about tactical unity here.
As explained by Lenin, what's necessary for the success of the revolution is primarily the unity of Marxists. Marxist unity is based around the unity of revolutionary principles and the formation of a revolutionary party of the new type to lead that struggle. In order to bring about principled unity between the revolutionaries and the broader progressive forces, the Revolutionary Party establishes a united front as the organ of bringing the broad masses into the struggle. Below the unity of the party and the united front, there can also be a tactical unity of broader left-wing forces on single-issue campaigns, such as fighting fascism. So today, we're not going to be discussing whether or not this or that group on the left can be friends. We're instead going to dive a bit deeper into the matter from a Marxist strategic perspective and take a look at the three main forms of unity, starting with wide-reaching tactical unity, then narrowing in slightly to the united front, and finally concluding with the highest form of left unity, the unity of the Revolutionary Party itself. But first, if you're new here, then go ahead and hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell below for...
And I'm going to let this play, and I'm letting him play his advertisement because it is a good channel to have as a resource. It's not your all-go everything too, but it is a good channel, so I do support.
What channel is this again, CJ?
This is Marxist Paul right here, Marxist Paul. Okay. Yeah, so definitely go contribute. So I'll let him, do his little shout out, and then it gets right into the rest of it here.
For almost weekly Marxist educational content and analysis. If you're in a position to do so and you want to make these videos a more regular thing, then consider tossing a couple of euro or dollar per month over on Patreon for our editor to help get the goods out as regularly as possible. If you're not in a position to support financially, you can also help out by sharing this video around on social media. Now, the most basic and widest reaching form of left unity that brings together revolutionary, progressive, reformist and parliamentary forces is...
So just to abridge or to adjust what he's saying for this conversation, so to bring together revolutionary, anarchists, liberals, and now conservatives, so MAGA, under one sort of coalition, we're talking about tactical single issue coalition is what we're talking about here.
Is the tactical unity of the single issue campaign. By tactical unity, what's meant here is that there isn't necessarily principled agreement between those uniting to confront an issue of common interest. Instead, it's a simple tactical alliance entered into to bring the greatest possible number into a very specific campaign to achieve a victory in the shortest possible time frame. While this form of left unity is quite limited, it's also a very common framework in practice every day. An example of tactical unity on a single issue campaign can be seen in anti-fascist activism, where revolutionaries unite with a range of forces that they might otherwise have very little in common with in order to mobilize huge numbers of people to confront and defeat.
Now, let's use this example, Nick, and what you were saying. So this could be a way of MAGA uniting with us, with Marxists and liberals, and quite frankly, vote blue no matter who, to fight against fascism. That is a single issue that affects all of us, but people who are trying to fight against fascism aren't still voting for Marjorie Taylor Greene. People who are trying to fight against fascism aren't still Trumpites or people trying to fight against Trump. They understand Trump is part of the same neoliberal class as Joe Biden is. That's the point.
Exactly. Like if he was a Trump supporter that heard Trump say he wanted to give people health care, and he was like, man, that's dope. And then Trump was like, I want to end the war. That was dope. But then he didn't peep game after his 4 years of doing the exact opposite. Like you had Goldman Sachs, Steve Mnuchin, Mike Pompeo. He literally he hired the fucking swamp. And then I understand, like if you went from that and then you're like, all right, I used to be a Trump or MAGA person. Now I hear what you guys saying. I want to work with you guys. I'm like, damn, that's one hell of an origin story. Welcome aboard. But if you're still buying that, it's like, damn, you off by a lot. You're off by you so far off. But go ahead, CJ.
Now let's take it down a different path. Like what possible type of coalition could there be between a Marxist and MAGA that's not single? Like, how do you attack the deep state, or let's use their term, globalist? Like, how do you attack that without attacking capitalism specifically, without dismantling like all the institutions of the United States government? So I'm curious to know, is there a person or a perspective from there where they're saying, no, we're not talking about only single issue. We're talking about a wide-ranging sort of coalition. That's what I will be curious for anybody who has that point. So if anybody in the comments has that point, I will be curious to know your point of view. But let's continue.
Defeat fascism. In anti-fascist work, it's not uncommon to find communists, anarchists, social democrats, and liberals working together to defeat our common enemy. And this is certainly a positive example of tactical left unity in action. A further example from recent Irish history.
Now, I'm going to skip this Irish part. This is the part I was saying I'm going to skip because there is a point here that it gets very, very important. I think it's here with the quote here. Hang on a second here. Let's see if this is it.
But as Seamus Costello stated, we maintain that any cooperation must be on the basis of a principled political position. It must be on the basis of explaining fully what all our policies are. It will be primarily an educational function or an educational campaign, in the hope at least that some significant section of the working class will understand.
So this is sort of what we were talking about. Like, it has to be a clear understanding from a Marxist perspective, making it clear to MAGA with any sort of coalition is that we maintain that any cooperation must be on the basis of a principled political position. It's not some sort of, but you know how vote blue, no matter who, just everybody just unite, just to unite. There's no like position, sort of like the Forward Party. It would almost feel like the Forward Party with no, position. So it would just be the Forward Parties of the left or of some other coalition, but it must have a principle basis. Go ahead.
Jackson is back too. We can wrap the segment.
Oh, Jackson's here. Oh, yeah. Okay. So for sure, I wasn't even looking. Let me take that down. If you don't mind. Go ahead. Let's. This is nice.
Yeah. So this is good. This is exactly what RB wants to do, and much props to Jackson. He comes on whenever anyone's talking about him.
Yes.
Much props, man. We would love to hear your thoughts on our conversation thus far as well.
Let me put your tweet up, Jackson, just so we can start from there, because we haven't gotten to responses. We haven't gotten to responses yet, which we will do. But this is going to be great to hear you respond to people like Margaret Kimberly's reaction to your tweet.
Like, man, you drive discourse like a motherfucker, dude. You drive discourse like a motherfucker, man.
So do you want to kind of give the history to this tweet? Because it feels, when you say liberals are attempting to cancel you, it feels like something precipitated this tweet. Could you speak to that?
What precipitated this tweet was another tweet I put out, and I just said, we are uniting Marxists and MAGA to overcome the globalists and the deep state. If you don't like that, enjoy irrelevancy. And that was the tweet that really blew up.
That was the one. Okay. Yeah. That's the one I was originally looking for, Nick, and I'll find that right now.
Yes,
so that was the one can you speak on that then? And as I look for the other one, go ahead.
So basically, what I and many others believe right now is that, well, I think we should all understand is that we can't just other half of the population of America right now. We can't completely write them off. Many of these people were Obama voters just a few years ago. These are not like innately evil people, although that's what Joe Biden is trying to make them out to be. These people may have been fooled, tricked, led astray, whatever you want to say. But at the end of the day, and I agree with some of those sentiments, but at the end of the day, the MAGA movement, insofar as the people, what they represent is a political determinant that is contradictory and antagonistic to the ruling class in this country. It is directly contradictory also to the early 2000s era of Republicans that were being co-opted into the and were believing in the movement of saying, like, yes, we need to go fight in Iraq. Yes, we need to go fight in Afghanistan. Yes, we need to support the Patriot Act in the name of being an American patriot. MAGA is very different than that. I'm sure you can find strains of MAGA that are probably going along with the brand to support while still supporting a lot of these neocon politics. But the brand of MAGA is fundamentally anti-globalist, and we can talk more about that. I know we touched on that in the last stream, but I would argue again that globalism is its own strain of capitalism, and there's even like real world examples you can point to of that globalism as it relates to the EU versus Poland or the EU versus Hungary, all of which are capitalist states and capitalist entities, but they have big differences.
Do MAGA have any influence in the Senate? I'm just asking because Rand Paul was the only Republican senator that voted against Ukraine aid. So, like, if MAGA is supporting Republican senators, isn't that a problem? Because doesn't that mean they're directly supporting Ukraine aid if they voted in Republican senator? Because Rand Paul's the only one who voted against it. So I see my only criticism of some MAGA, because you were right in a lot of things you're saying, but then a lot of the quote unquote MAGA politicians who ride that bandwagon, they don't support like ending globalism because a lot of them are imperialists as well. But do you want you can continue, you can take that on if you want, Jackson.
Well, yeah, I think that first of all, politicians are going to go with whatever is, the political popular move at the time as far as the brand. So if it means sucking up to Donald Trump to get his endorsement or to get him to not come out and, campaign against him, then they're going to do that. But at the end of the day, Rand Paul's not even, I mean, he aligns with Trump on a lot of stuff, but he's more libertarian. I'd say he's like libertarian MAGA. But if you look in the House, I mean, all of the like diehard MAGA individuals in the House, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, Madison Cawthorn, Lauren Boebert, regardless of what you think about their, some of their other views, social views, views about like Christian nationalism, which I think are reprehensible. At the end of the day, they do have a very, very solid point to be made about what it means to be an American. It's a fundamentally politically distinct new American label in the MAGA movement to be supportive of these sorts of things, to be supportive of America first at the end of the day. How that manifests in the real world looks different for people who aren't truly aligned with MAGA. But for them, it looks like opposing the Ukraine aid and trying to focus on what they see as the issues here at home. We might disagree on the issues here at home, but if we can unite to overcome the globalists that are pushing for this agenda, then that's something that we should do. And we should not only do, but welcome and work together with them on. And last thing I'll say about the MAGA stuff is we shouldn't be focusing as much on the fake politicians who are adhering to who claim the label MAGA. We have to look at the movement as a whole. I said in the chat, like 26% of my audience is MAGA, and I talk about Marxism every single stream. I talk about, overcoming these imperialist politics every single stream and these globalist, sociocultural globalist politics on every single stream. So if we can unite on those issues, I think that's extremely important. And it's not about uniting with the fake MAGA politicians. It's about uniting with the mass movement that we now have in this country for the first time ever. That is distinct in forming a politically popular brand, right? Because it is they are kind of the inheritors and the manifestation of like a Ron Paul style politics in America right now. Previously, like again, in the post, early 2000s, anyone who embodied this sort of idea was written off as like equivalent to terrorists. They were equivalent to Al-Qaeda. They were written off as like political extremists, the criminal underworld. Now there is a positive, in some cases, beautiful movement that's actually forming around something that is being celebrated as pro-America.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned this before. There are people, not the politicians, not the swamp monsters. I think both parties are swamp monsters. Because I have a lot of conservatives who follow me on Twitter, a lot of them that watch the show as well, and I'm very impressed with the ones who stay aboard because it's not a safe space for a lot of these people. I'm unapologetic in my belief because I believe I can back them up, and I say a lot of things that would turn off the average conservative. And if you're one of the people who can hang in there, despite my raging against the empire, right? That means I can tell that at least you're serious on forming coalitions on some things, right? And I think there are a lot of people who are just intellectually curious who may who watch a lot of different news sources. I do the same thing. Like I'll watch an MSNBC segment just so I see what the shit libs are saying. I get my news from a lot of different sources. So props to those people as well. But one thing I like to punch people in the face a little bit. I like to do a little bit of tough love, where I'm pointing out to these people at the same time, like, hey, yo, you say you're serious about these issues, man. But if you're really serious, you really want for these coalitions, we got to leave the two-party duopoly. Go ahead, CJ.
No, that's a great segue to the question I have for Jackson, because I don't see the MAGA that you describe. I don't see him outside of you, who speak on it. I don't see this MAGA that's against these wars. Like, for example, where are the MAGA anti-war rallies? Where's the like the things that we're coming together to fight the deep state? Where are the activism from the people that you're saying
I see them demonizing
have these
protesters.
beliefs. Yeah, I don't see. I see the
them
quite
demonizing
opposite.
protesters more than they join us.
So that's the point that I'm making. That not the point, but that's the question I have, is that the way you're speaking about it is as if this is like a well-known, other than, but it feels to me, my sense of it is that you're trying to lead MAGA to the right place, not that they're already there, but maybe you're trying to give the movement more credit than I would give it by saying that it's, it's maybe it's widespread. I feel like you see an opening, and rightfully, if you're a Marxist, that, hey, this working class population is being completely ignored, even by Marxists. And I agree on that particular point, even by Marxists. So that's who I'm going to go after. It's sort of like what Jimmy does, but Jimmy is not necessarily that well read on absolutely all Marxism. He has a general working understanding of it, but it feels like he began that, but you are taking it with the ideology of understanding Marxism. Can you speak to all of that point and question and answer any part of that?
Yeah. I mean, first I'd say that I don't see any anti-war protests whatsoever. I don't think there's any anti-war protests in America. But what I will say is that if you look at places, well, first of all, I would say that the manifestation of that would be MAGA rallies. Is it explicitly, focus on these sorts of things? No, of course not. But if you talk to the people at these rallies, and, I cover these rallies on my stream, I'll cover videos from them. And I'm actually going to be going to rallies and interviewing these people this year. But if you listen to what these people are saying, you can hear clips of them saying things like Putin is fighting the deep state. Xi Jinping is fighting the deep state. And these aren't things I'm making up. It's real. And those are just like a few clips. But I'm going to be going to these rallies and talking to people and seeing what they actually think, because I think that's the broad overall opinions of them.
I think you're speaking, Jackson, sorry to interrupt. You're speaking to the point I'm making, is that you're hearing that there is a connection. I don't think it's there yet. I think you are identifying that I'm hearing what I need to hear to understand that people at these MAGA rallies are ready for this sort of unification, or this sort of coalition. So you're hearing it, and maybe that's the case. But again, I just don't necessarily see it. But can you please continue, sir?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be, say, me or any one person that's going to take these people and say, here's the path forward. Any revolution that happens in this country is going to be based upon the material conditions that people are suffering under and responding to. So the example I wanted to bring up is what's happening all across Europe right now. And liberals are freaking out about this, because in Europe right now,
They are.
in the Czech Republic, in France, and in Germany, so far, those are just 3 places, but it's about to be all over Europe. Liberals are posting and freaking out on Twitter saying, oh my God, the far right parties are uniting with the communists to fight back against the policies that are being instilled by NATO and the EU, the globalists. So they're freaking out about this. And it's not because a communist went to a MAGA event and said, let's go the path forward for communism, let's fight against this stuff. It's the material conditions. It's the suffering on full display, and the mantle that these people are rallying under. I feel like in America, there is a more identified brand, and that is the MAGA brand. In Europe, they don't really have that yet, but the people are unifying to fight back and respond to this contradiction, and that the elite are not giving them what they need, and the elite are trying to rally them under the banner of this EU unity. But the true EU unity is those people in the streets. It's the communists and it's the far right who are fighting back against the globalist policies.
Yeah, you're definitely, one thing you definitely get right is the threat of the liberal establishment. I think a lot of progressives are naive. When you have AOC, you have Bernie and the squad that voting to expand NATO and voting for weapons deals to Taiwan. They are a threat. And this goes to our original discussion. I have no problems with people trying to convert their community to their position. Like if you live in white, like that's exactly what we've been asking, right, CJ? We said, hey, white people, it's upon you to drag your community to the left. So I actually find no problem with that. I have no problem with that because we need to get people to recognize that our enemy are these liberals who unite with the rest of the Republican Party outside of Rand Paul to send Ukraine aid. And we got to get our eye on the right target. And a lot of people who heavily upset with your presence and who are heavily upset with RBN is because we're not willing to acknowledge that the Justice Democrats and progressives are the lesser two evils because they are literally escalating World War III. You talk about this all the time, Jackson. You can add more to this as well because I know you covered this in depth. Like the food shortage, the energy crisis in Europe coming this winter, it's going to be a travesty and a collapse we've never seen before. And they are enabling that. That's an enemy that we must come together to defeat. And we can. And I think these conversations where we discuss and we debate strategy on the best way to do it is very important. But it's important that we have our eyes on our prize and who know one enemy. So CJ and Jackson, you guys can pick up from that if you guys want.
Yeah. I think the enemy are those who are trying to instill this universalist approach to viewing the world on the United States, for example, but any country. And that's who we are rallying against. And AOC represents that universalist view. That's why she's sanctioning the poorest people in the world right now in Muslim countries and Latin American countries who are conservative. They might be, a lot of these people on who embody Marxism are anti-choice. That's something I disagree with them on. They're anti-LGBT. And though they are these things, they still represent a fundamental national reality in their given countries. And they fight back against the imperialists and the capitalists. And they do represent something unique. But because they oppose this globalist variant of capitalism and imperialism, the likes of the American elites like AOC are deciding to force sanctions down their throat. And that's the unique thing here that I think we need to address. The other thing I heard you guys talk about is that like Marxists are trying to work with MAGA to make this unison happen, this distinction take place. I mean, MAGA is like half the country. How many people truly identify as Marxists? It's few and far between. There's no reason.
I don't believe MAGA is half the country. I believe MAGA is just as small as Marxists. Yeah, they have a big voice. I don't believe MAGA is that big. Actually,
yeah, I think they're about 25%. Because if you take out the non-voters,
they're not.
And then if you take out half of the people who vote, that put about 25% Republican. But I see what you're saying.
Let's say it's 25% of people who vote. The numbers here, the argument still applies. What percentage of people who vote identify as, the non-Western Marxist, meaning an actual Marxist that doesn't think that AOC is a Marxist, like an actual Marxist? What percentage of the voting population is that? It's much slimmer than MAGA voters.
Yeah, and this is why I discuss labels all the time, but I don't take a lot of stock into them because my theory of change is I think we only need about 15 to 20% of the population. And if you're one of the MAGA people who I'm talking about, who thought that Donald Trump was anti-establishment, but you still going along with the two-party duopoly, I just don't see them as useful soldiers. But we can build that 15 to 20% with our community, the community that you're building that's hopefully anti-two-party duopoly, and we need to put massive outside pressure. So if you're still a part of the quote-unquote MAGA movement, you will actually be counterproductive to what we are trying to accomplish because you're getting the power to the people that we need to defeat. You know what I'm saying?
But I think Jackson, or I think that's what he said in the beginning. It's not necessarily he's using MAGA. This is my interpretation. Using MAGA just so to identify, so people understand who he's talking about. But
yeah, and I have no problem with
MAGA, right? But these people we call MAGA really are just regular people who happen to be on that side that has the sign that has MAGA, but they have a lot of the same issues. They believe in a lot of the same things. A lot of the things we don't, like a culture things we don't believe in. But that's what Marxism talks about, is putting down those differences to unite up behind a working class. So,
and we talk about all the time.
Is that the function? I'm going to ask this to Jackson. Is that the function you believe of MAGA, or the MAGA people you're talking about that would join with the Marxists? With Marxists, is that a working class perspective that they're understanding? Is the point, or what is their perspective? I don't want to put words in their mouths.
Yeah, I think that the MAGA movement in particular, again, is that distinction between the ruling elite and the working people of this country. And when it comes to the issues that matter most, it's a fundamental distinction of top versus bottom. It's not left versus right. And Marxist, though many people try to bastardize what it means to be a Marxist, it means viewing the world from the lens of dialectical materialism. It's not left, it's not right. And historically, it's been more right than it's been left in every single country on the globe. But it is not left nor right. And Lenin discussed this quite a bit. It's its own line that needs to be drawn that highlights that inherent contradiction between the ruling elite and the working people of a given country. And when it comes to the matters the issues that matter most, like fighting the deep state, fighting the intelligence community, fighting the warmongers, MAGA is aligned with us Marxists who are trying to expose that inherent contradiction between the working class and those in the elite. Obviously, there's elite people within MAGA. Obviously, there's people within MAGA that don't identify and cannot recognize these fundamental contradictions. And there's probably people within MAGA that, even embody the elite. But at the end of the day, the masses of MAGA, if you talk to these people, if you listen to them, they do represent and are working to highlight those fundamental contradictions.
And I actually talk about that a lot, because I actually bring up the fact that majority of Republicans actually for decriminalizing marijuana. The majority of Republican voters are to the left.
Oh, they smoke marijuana. You and the OC, yeah, because in the OC where I'm at, it's a lot of weed.
But even that, it's like that. Is that really? I mean, it's an important issue.
That's not the point, though. That's not the point. I get what you're saying. That's not the and it feels like maybe Jackson is taking a very hard lines Marxist stance to shedding these differences that people is shocking the system, is shocking people's consciousness that these things are being put in the same tweet. For example, they're like, what? Like it's shocking the constants. But when he comes on here, he's answering the questions directly. So I do feel like you're being genuine, Jackson. I do. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we actually agree on a lot of these things. Like when we say MAGA is more progressive than a lot of people think. Do you know? We report on the study. People who consider themselves ultra conservative are actually to the left of people who consider themselves moderate on criminal justice. So it's a fact that MAGA is to the left of like the Amy Klobuchar supporters. The only thing I was saying, in our effort to bring them to our side, we need to get them to disown what it means to be MAGA, means supporting two-party duopoly. But other than that, we pretty much I don't see large difference, because I talked about before, I think people need to convert people in your community. Like me and CJ, I don't personally see a lot of these progressive MAGA people walking around. But I'm surrounded mostly by Black people, Latino, working class people. So those are the people I'm focused on bringing aboard. If you live in the rural red state, you got to work within your own confines. That may be working with MAGA to bring them to the left with some issues, right? But
let me chime in here. Let me chime in here before we get back to Jackson. Let me chime in here from the perspective of the Marxist group, the Black Panthers. What did they do, Nick? Did they say, "Hey, what were they? White patriots? Don't organize your community around our values, and then we'll come together"? Or did he say, "You go organize your community, I'll organize our community, we'll come together to go fight these bastards"? You get what I'm saying? So this could be what's happening. It's that any true coalition, working class, has to understand that is the number one goal, is the defeat, not these things that we disagree on. Let's beat them, and then we'll come back to this other shit after we beat them. Go ahead, Jackson, chime in. Go ahead.
The other thing I'll say is that I don't think MAGA, like Nick, you said that MAGA still today represents upholding the duopoly. I would fundamentally disagree with that, because at the end of the day, these people are not out talking about, upholding the Republican Party. They might talk about upholding traditionalism, and maybe that can be viewed as upholding like conservatism. But what is communism? Communism is a return to the commons. It is traditionalism. But the MAGA movement is focused on opposing the elite. And I think that, again, they're led astray on many occasions, and they believe some asinine things when it comes to unrelated issues. But for example, the reason why there's more Democrats that watch Tucker Carlson than Democrats who watch CNN or MSNBC is because Tucker, for working class Democrats, does a better job than anyone else on MSNBC or CNN in exposing the contradictions between the elite and the working class people. Now, he says some things I think are insane as well, but this is what MAGA is. It's not about upholding the Republican Party. There's a reason why so many MAGA voters are opposed with what the Republican Party is doing and want to tear the Republican Party down. These are the people who are vilified the most, of course. The people who want to tear the Republican Party down. What they stand for is what they believe a return to American values, a new America, and fighting for what they view as inherent patriotic values, which we discussed on the last stream. And I think that we can unite with them on some of these issues. I don't think it's about upholding the two-party system.
I'm sure there's some MAGA. I'll just respond to Jackson. I'm sure there's some MAGA people out there that exist that is as you described them. But when I see MAGA cheering on a red wave, when I see them floating the idea of voting for fucking Herschel Walker for senator, that is not a serious movement. And they can say good, positive things, but there's no difference between MAGA, who says good things, but they vote Republican, than Justice Democrats. Like that's like someone saying, "Oh my God, I believe in healthcare. That's why I support AOC." That's the same thing to me. You can say good things, but who are you giving power to? That would be my. If you're a MAGA who disowns that, and you're not rooting for a red wave, you're not voting for Herschel Walker and doing stupid shit like that, voting for Dr. Oz. Like on RBN, we laugh at both sides. Red wave, blue wave, our coverage is gonna be the same. We're gonna laugh at the loser. But if you are invested in that in any way, shape, or form, you are propping up the two-party duopoly, and you're doing exactly what the Democratic Party want you to do. They want a large constituents of Republican voters. That's why Nancy Pelosi said, "Oh, we need a strong Republican Party." They love people who vote both sides, and you're not a threat until you're willing to vote their party. That's my only rebuttal to that. And I give Jackson 10 to respond, and we go back to CJ as well, because we got some other stories. I don't know how long we're gonna be on this, but go ahead, Jackson, if you want to respond to that.
I think that there, of course, within the confines of the political system today, MAGA people are going to vote Republican because that's where their movement like resides right now. But I don't think, I think it would be disingenuous again to paint the MAGA movement and its fundamental goal is upholding the two-party system. I think they do that. But I think the fundamental part of MAGA is to represent this new set of values that claims to be under the label of patriotism and fighting back against the elite. And I think there are, of course, disaffected voters in the MAGA movement. The stat of 65%, 68% of American voters who want to vote for a third party, I think reflects that. But at the end of the day, there is still a huge difference between those voters you said who would still today vote for the Justice Democrats because they claim to support Medicare for all, for example, and MAGA voters who vote for MAGA politicians because they believe in what they say. The first difference is that MAGA politicians, and not just me, you don't have to take it from me. You can listen to what Aaron Mate had to say about this. He said that when it comes down to the issues that matter most to him, MAGA politicians are, a lesser evil on these sorts of issues. You know, when it comes to issues of war, for example, I'm paraphrasing him, but he was talking about Ukraine. He was talking about Syria. He was talking about the intelligence community, and they do pose a substantive lesser evil in the sense that they are taking policy positions that actually are working to lessen the damage. Okay. The squad is not doing that when it comes to Medicare for all, when it comes to the progressive policies that we, you know, agree with them on. They're not doing that. So that's the first difference. The second difference is that the Justice Democrats, and it's kind of related, but the Justice Democrats and the entire Democratic Party, and this is what I talked about on Tucker Carlson's show, they all represent this strain of globalist imperialism, which I think is the most dangerous strain of imperialism in the world today. The MAGA Republicans, though they identify as capitalists, they do not represent this strain of, you know, globalist imperialism. And that's what the other differentiation is.
They're both Zionists, though. I hate Zionism. I can't, like, that's the same thing I criticize Nina Turner for. You see what I'm saying? To me, it's kind of the same. I don't believe in lesser two evilism. I just don't.
I don't either. But if we're talking about them being equals, I mean, that's just not appropriate.
Yeah, I don't see them being equals. I see the opposite. If anybody's better, I would say it's AOC in the opposite side. But my question is, what is the deep state? Can you explain what that is?
The deep state is the apparatus and the infrastructure and the network of individuals who remain in positions of governance or positions of, high influence, not just in the United States government, but in this global infrastructure of power. You look at NATO, look at the EU, look at the United Nations, and of course the United States government. They stay in these positions regardless of who is in power, Democrats or Republicans. And right now, the strain of politics that I would argue that they uphold, which is different than previous generations and previous eras of, deep state figures. Right now, what they uphold is this globalist, imperialist capitalist politics. Previously, it was a more neoconservative bent. Now it's this neoliberal aspect of imperialism that has a socio-cultural aspect to it, and that's how they're achieving their goals. But as far as actual institutions in the United States, I mean, it's ones that we can all think of as like the biggest evils in our country right now. It's the CIA, it's the NSA, it's the FBI, it's of course the to a lesser extent the DOD, it's the State Department, probably almost in the biggest capacity of all. It's people like Victoria Nuland and William Burns, who, regardless of presidential administration, they always find themselves in very high positions. And they're the ones who presidents left and right go to seek advice on how we should deal with Russia or how we should deal with China.
And then I have another sort of follow-up question. It's different. But I do think as Marxists, considering he wrote a book on capitalism, I think as Marxists, it is our duty to use the term capitalism in our critique of capitalism as Marxists. And then, so my question to you is, do the people who hear you and others use the term globalism, like I think you said 27% of your audience is MAGA, do they understand the term globalist or globalism is just another term for capitalism? Do they get, let me say it a different way. Do they know globalism is a critique on capitalism?
I don't think that globalism is just another word for capitalism. I think introducing the term globalism to the public and to an audience, it brings into discourse a new conversation about intra-capitalist socio-cultural clashes. So the example I brought up earlier that we could look to relates to what's going on in the EU right now. And this is what I talk about quite a bit on my show. I highlight how Hungary is fighting against the globalists and what they're doing with this energy policy and the Russian sanctions and the proxy war in Ukraine. Hungary is still a right-wing capitalist government. Viktor Orban is a right-wing capitalist,
Yeah,
but he is
absolutely.
not a globalist. And to confuse the two by calling them all capitalists would actually be, it would hinder my audience's understanding to what's actually going on. Globalism is a strain of imperialist capitalism. Imperialism is the highest, level of capitalism, but globalism invites discourse about the socio-cultural aspect of this strain and what it's doing. And right now, that looks like the EU, that looks like NATO, and that looks like the United States and London. But it is
When
not.
you
It's
say
not the same thing as
socio-cultural, when you say socio-cultural, what do you mean? Because this is probably maybe the second or third time that you're zeroing in on social cultural things, and I'm curious to why that is, and what do you mean by that?
The reason why, well, I mean, that's just the material reality of the situation with these globalists today. Whether it's LGBT views, whether it's green energy pushes that I view as hyperbolic and extreme, and probably a distortion of what the scientists are actually telling us about these issues. Whether it's views on abortion or whatever, traditional values versus this, Western democracy set of values. These are different worldviews. And what the EU is trying to do right now is impose those worldviews on the people of all the countries, the 27 nations that make up the EU. And the people and the governments of all these countries don't embody those views, even though they might call themselves capitalists. And the EU is using these views to try and bring these countries under their grip, in the same way that the United States is trying to do that by imposing our preferred worldview on countries in Latin America or in the Muslim world. We are telling them, again, we brought up this example earlier, that if they don't adhere to the values of LGBTQ norms, then we are going to sanction you, and we're going to try to bring about a coup in your country and under our grasp. Now, said country might be capitalist, but at the end of the day, if they are opposing what our government is trying to instill there, our government's going to fight to make that happen.
Why would that be? I don't see why that is a priority. So let me be honest with you, Jackson. Not a lot, but some of the things that you say in the reasons of using these terms and in the way you talk about it comes back to the social cultural part, and this also kind of encompasses socialist patriotism, in my opinion. It's a way to me of making Marxism and making the revolution more palatable for white people. That's what this sounds to me.
Well,
that's what it sounds like, to be honest, to me. Yeah.
I disagree with that. Globalism today manifests in these socio-cultural realms, but it could be anything. It could be, globalism via sociocultural means, religious means, political means, like political forms of governance. It could be economic means. And it basically just means the imposing of universalist views on everyone else. I mean, if there's another way in which you can identify in which these ruling elite and all these different institutions and networks I just named, like the EU, NATO, United States government, and all these groups combined, are imposing their universalist views on the masses, then I guess I would be interested to hear that. But
I'm just saying that's not a priority. The priority is the critique of capitalism and the oppression that it brings. I understand what you're saying, that can be an issue. I just don't understand.
It's the fundamental issue.
Right, but let me get to my point. I just don't understand why that issue is up front with the critique or the needed destruction of capitalism. I don't see them. I see that as a thing almost should be left behind after we take care of the common enemy. It's sort of a thing to debate once we've taken care of the person who is afflicting all of us. You can speak to that. Go ahead.
I disagree with that. It's the fundamental issue right now that's causing all the crises that we see in the world today. I think
Capitalism?
at its core, globalism.
Okay.
This is the fundamental issue. And globalism, like I said earlier, is a strain of capitalism. It's something that is inherently contradictory to those who embody traditional values but are still capitalists. It's something that is contradictory to countries like China and Russia, which is not a socialist country, but embodies traditional values and is pro-growth and pro-industrialization. This comes in direct contradiction with the globalist want as well. That is something that we can all unite on, capitalists, socialists, communists, Marxists alike, and combat against. And that is, the fundamental contradiction that lies within our society in America today. Because what are they pushing in America? It's all this anti, free speech agenda that they're shoving down our throats. That's the cultural aspect here in America, as well as I would say the hyperbolic green energy push. So in America, if it's our duty as Marxists to identify these contradictions between the elite and the working people, the masses, well, we can unite with those who embody traditional values, might call themselves capitalists, might just be capitalists, but they don't identify as globalists, who are pushing and quite successful in pushing this broader agenda into state governments and local governments all across the country.
I've never heard the position of globalists, or I'm sorry, of capitalists uniting with Marxists. This is new to me. Like, it sounds like you're saying like there's good capitalists, for example, who are okay to team up with. Am I hearing that wrong, Jackson?
I said people who identify as capitalists. It doesn't mean that we cede ground.
Gotcha. Like they don't have money, they don't have capital. They just have an understanding that I agree with capitalism. So that's like my aunt or something like that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's what you're saying. You're not saying Jamie Dimon. You're saying like a regular person. Gotcha. Okay.
No. That clarifies. And I think that, when it comes to the actual issues, we probably agree with those people on a lot. We agree in building up our country, lifting the masses out of poverty, trying to reindustrialize our country and make it a commodities power again, rather than this hyper financialized world that we live in. And I think we agree with them on a lot. And those are all things that are being opposed by the ruling globalist class right now. It's as simple as that.
Well, I hear, like Nick said, I hear a lot of overlapping. I also hear a lot of disagreement. Even in the understanding of Marxism, I don't necessarily hear some of the same, like your interpretation of some things is just not my interpretation of it, which is fine. And Marxism allows for that. So that's completely fine. Nick, you wanted to chime in on something? I kind of took it, but I do want to go to some comments, if you didn't mind, Jackson. There is a lot of comments, a lot of questions.
We got a lot of
I see like 600 comments. So let's go to those.
Yeah, Jackson, I know you came on here last second, so just feel free to let us know when you got bow and we'll let you go.
I've got till about like 1:30.
That's Cali time, so we got 30 minutes. All right, so thank you for 999. Because I had another story. There may be a little long stream because this is gone off the rails. I had a few stories. I
don't think it goes on to rails, but let me say this. I love that Jackson came on. I love that we can have these discussions that like I was just reading and viewing something on this where I think it was Mao, where it's where you critique, remember the phrasing, where we're discussing the differences in a in a way amongst comrades, and that's what I'm talking about. Man. Right, this is what we need to do, because there's real difference in what some of the things that Jackson says, but I do believe he's an anti-imperialist. I do believe that like he's anti-war, but like a lot of other things, I think you're coming from a genuine place, Jackson. So none of that is at all to critique. These are just genuine differences in understandings and beliefs. That's all.
All right, let's get to the super chats. And to that point, because people always ask, because whenever we have critiques of someone else, like I was talking to my boy K Study, he's like, man, you need to have Jenk on to talk about this. I'm like, bro, they would never come on. What the fuck you talking about? Like, whenever we critique anyone, they got open invitation. No one has the ball. So once again, Jackson did. So thank you for the Andrew. Thank you for the $100, Andrew. Best case scenario, you can peel away 15 to 20% of either MAGA or Democrats. Better to build something that you can primarily attract the vast majority of Americans, non-voter and independents. Thank you for the support, Andrew. Just feel free to interrupt Jackson and CJ if you guys want to chime in with anything. Just interrupt me for free. Thank you for the $10. Mecca. Thanks for having Jackson back on. These
he's the one who called us out the first time because he didn't know we had Jackson. He didn't know we had Jackson.
Yeah, he's like, why do you?
I remember you. Yeah, I remember you.
I saw Jackson in the comments. I was like, hey, if you want to come on, you can come on. And Jackson's a soldier, so he did. So I think it led to a good conversation. So thank you for $100 again. I don't know what currency that is. Co-opting woke language is a facade. It doesn't mean they care about those values. The FBI co-opting MLK doesn't mean MLK's substantive positions are wrong. May not be sober, guys. Globalists still fight for the market control. Once again, feel free to comment on these if you want to. Now I'm moving on.
Right, and that is one of the differences. When we were saying there's some differences, that is one, the market control thing. That is one. So these are differences that we can talk about maybe in another stream. That's a long conversation to talk about that particular point. So
thanks for the $10. Jackson is 100% right. It's really important that leftists understand that neoliberals are completely captured by elite interests, which I agree with as well. Like I said earlier, we 100% acknowledge what the real enemy is, and there are a lot of people who don't even do that. Like the people
this person has another part.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that part too. Like the people who still vote for Justice Democrats, the people who still vote for
they're the same. Yeah, I agree. They're the same.
So at least we understand that, right? So I agree with that too. Captured by the elite interests who will ransack countries at the niche social left issues, and this is the other one, I think. Well, hopefully this is the other one. The only way to break free is to unite with anyone, including people we despise on culture issues, to form a consensus that can break elite control of society. Then we can truly debate social control issues. And to this point, this is exactly what I was saying. I'm waiting for a lot of these people to get serious, man, because I want people to stop. The main thing I always say, stop focusing on cultural war issues. Let's focus on the elites in the ruling class. And right now, Americans are having a cultural war over the Little Mermaid. That's how fucking unserious this country is. Well, and I want people to focus on that, but they're not. But go ahead, Jackson. I think you chomping at the bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is something that I forgot to mention earlier on, because you bring up a good point. It's like, well, what are we focusing on? What should be the primary focus here? And we need to focus on, as we say, we're gonna, or maybe not you guys, but me at least, I want to work with these people, work with average Americans on the issues that we can unite on. It's also, it's our duty, and speaking with all of us now as synthesizers of information, as people who are speaking to the masses, on our shows, it's our duty to say, well, like, okay, yeah, let's unite. But also, if Donald Trump brings someone like John Bolton into his administration, we need to expose, the insanity of that. We should be saying, why is he choosing a John Bolton or whoever he had as his Secretary of Defense at the start, when he could be choosing like a Colonel Douglas McGregor, someone who's still conservative, embodies the MAGA principle, but is fundamentally, when it comes to Ukraine and China, the two biggest issues right now, he's on our side. So we need to not all of these people as fundamentally evil and say F all of you. We have to like work with this mass movement. And if it's working within the confines of the Republican Party right now, I mean, you and I, there's nothing we can do to stop them. We can encourage them against that. But while they are doing that, let's make sure that they don't go down the path entirely of the Justice Democrats and the Squad.
All right.
I hear you.
Thank you for the 999. I'm just trying to get as many super chats as possible here. We got a lot. Appreciate the support, guys.
Alliance. Hey, let me turn off my air conditioning. I'm starting to freeze. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Go ahead. Alliance of Left MAGA is untenable. News sources are poisonous. Cultural figures, mostly frauds. They delve in covert, blatant racism, transphobia, police tyranny, free market deception, and pro-colonialism. And I think you will agree too that, and I think you said this as well, there are a lot of people that hijack the MAGA movement or who are unserious. Because my take is, I see a lot of these conservative people who engage in the culture war and they get a ton of clicks, way more than we do, talking about foreign policy, for example. And I think they serve a function in capitalism to distract the workers. I don't think it's by accident. Not only do they make a lot of money, but they serve in their purpose. And this is not new. This is what Rush Limbaugh did. Like, we see a lot of right-wing media people, that's the new Rush Limbaugh. They're here to push culture war issues to distract the workers. With the same thing the liberals do. Like, on RBN, we don't pretend one side is better than another. Both parties do it. Democratic Party push their fake woke ideology to stoke the culture war. Then the right take debate to get you guys distracted on the worker issues. And so great super chat, Jackson. You can chime in if you want.
I think everyone's entitled to their own views on culture issues, whatever. And if we agree, if we disagree, fine, or we can disagree. But you are right. People like Ben Shapiro, people like Charlie Kirk, like, it's not that they talk about culture issues and that's the problem. That's not the problem. Tucker Carlson, Robert Barnes, Viva Frey, these sorts of figures that are all embodying of the MAGA movement, they talk about culture issues, and it's fine to talk about. I talk about culture issues occasionally. But what's the main focus here? The main focus that differentiates the Charlie Kirks and the Ben Shapiros of the world, which only talk about, the problem is they only talk about culture issues, and the Robert Barneses, the Durans, Alexander and Alex Mercurius and Alex Cristofaro and Colonel Douglas McGregor, these people actually focus on those meat and potato issues, the big issues. And that's where I see, the differences in the right wing. And when I say like the fake MAGA, well, the fake MAGA are those who are hiding their abhorrent foreign policy views by only talking about cultural views. I don't really care if you have cultural views that differ from mine. I want to know what your real opinions are on the biggest issues of our time.
So you don't care if somebody has a different cultural issue. That's not something a coalition should go after anyway, I would assume. Like, you know what I mean? Like if the Black Panthers and the White Patriots came together or something, they're not going to come together on the things that they disagreed on. But I did want to ask or bring up a couple of comments here and get your
go ahead, CJ. Get
your reaction. Oh, I know we still had a bunch of super chats. Do we have a lot more?
Yeah, we have a few more, but we can always get to those here soon. CJ, you can share something if you want.
Yeah, let me just I start a couple of comments here. MAGA comments and here's MAGA comment.
Yeah, we read that earlier. Yeah, we read that.
Okay, that was just one that was funny to me. I thought. Okay, so
this is what we left off. We left off for this one. I can start here.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
This is the last, the other one. So
and then I'll go to the regular comments because I got some regular comments.
Thank you for 199. Jackson say I hate capitalists. Sorry, we read all super chats here.
I'll just say why. Okay, so if I can agree with capitalists on issues of opposing vaccine mandates, why would I say I hate that person? I don't hate that person.
You shouldn't say. I don't think they were saying you hate that person, because that person who's opposing vaccine mandate is not necessarily a capitalist. So the person with the question, I don't know if you're making a distinction between real actual capitalists like Jamie Dimon, like Bloomberg, or you're just talking about people who live in a capitalist system? That's
there's
different.
There's plenty of people who call themselves capitalists that are not, major financiers in the world. We should work to, oppose capitalism, but not hate all, working class people who call themselves this thing, because you're gonna ostracize and isolate yourself from most of the country at that point. And regardless of whether these people truly understand what capitalism is or they've been misguided, that's another point that we need to bring up. Saying that you hate all capitalists is the fundamental problem with liberal leftists. And those are the people who are, like we said in that first tweet, are trying to cancel me right now because they're calling me fascist. It's people like Ben Norton. They can't wrap their head around the fact that we should be uniting with people where we agree, rather than completely isolating ourselves from everyone who is, maybe calling themselves these things.
So since you brought up Ben, I forgot I was going to ask you about this, but when you said it, I'm like, oh, he asked me a good question. So here's the tweet from your tweet. And I'll let you respond. Ben Norton, this is obviously fueled outside of the policy, in my opinion, but the grifter is now openly calling for an alliance with fascists. No actual Marxist would ever do this. Hinkle is not a leftist. He's a LARPer appealing to racists and colonialists. Globalists don't exist. It's a right-wing dog whistle. They're called imperialists and capitalists. So what is your... I don't know if you had a tweet response to this, but what was that response, if you had one? And if you didn't have one by tweet, what is your response? Not necessarily to the name calling, because I heard you call him a name a couple of times, but this is sort of what we're speaking to, what I'm speaking to. I'm not going to put words in Nick's mouth, and that is the term globalist. I do feel like this is what it speaks to what I said earlier. It's like trying to critique capitalism without saying the words capitalism, because it turns off right-wing people that you're trying to that is part of your audience, that is part of who's listening to you. So I mean, you can speak on all of it, but this is the part I'm not
I feel like we addressed the globalist part in depth, but I'll just say it again. Anyone who's a globalist is someone who is trying to impose their supposed universalist worldview on the masses, on the world.
I just got all of what you're saying now. Go ahead. I just got it. It just clicked to me just now. Go ahead.
So for example, the EU right now is trying to impose their supposed universalist worldview on all of the EU. And that's why you have people like in Hungary and in Poland who are still capitalists, who are creating these contradictions and fighting back against them and, threatening to leave the EU. It's why the United States is sanctioning some of the poorest people in the world right now, because, the United States claims that they don't adhere, these poor people don't adhere to, their supposedly universalist views on LGBT or abortion. But it's not because those people are socialists or anti-imperialists. It's because they don't adhere to those universalist views. So
right. So that's something I didn't because I was still thinking in the context of economics when you were saying those differences. You're saying beyond economic differences, and that now, so I'm getting an understanding that globalist is not just economical. I guess
it could be
repression or oppression. It could be cultural. Now I have a better understanding of even what you're saying. Now I get a better understanding of even what you're saying.
It could be religion.
We had this part.
It could be like, energy-based governance. It could be anything. And then as for the, I won't spend too much time on it, but as for the first part, well, Ben is, I just disagree. And I think that you guys would disagree too. I mean, calling all MAGA voters fascists, because I said we want to unite MAGA and Marxists, and he said, I'm openly calling for aligning with fascists, I would not call all MAGA voters fascists.
Well, let me say this, Jackson. This is where a conversation, because the tweet that RBN and I put out could have led down this same road where we're calling each other if you didn't come on and we have a discussion.
Yeah, Twitter is a bad.
So I'm saying like y'all, because just how when I hear you say MAGA, but then you came on the show and said all these people who are using the MAGA term, but they're doing that's not the real MAGA belief. So he obviously thinks that because that's the loudest group, the one who is not who you are describing is not the true MAGA, like the people who are calling themselves MAGAs but have other beliefs outside of what you're saying. That's who he is thinking you're talking about. Like, obviously, he's thinking of the people you're saying that wants to be fascists that use the term MAGA.
I think that the Make America Great Again movement, I think the MAGA movement is not fascist as a whole. I don't think it's like a random unique strain of them. I mean, that's why the biggest supporters of MAGA in Congress right now, those who align most closely with it, are fighting back against the globalist agenda when it comes to Ukraine and China. Now, this is where they get the most. This is where they get the most.
One person. Who else is there? I only see one person, and that's Rand Paul. I don't see. That's where, like, who else are you?
Rand Paul, Chip Roy, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Madison Cawthorn, Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey is probably the best example of all.
He's decent. He's decent for a Republic. I know some of his stuff, but go ahead.
I think that at the end of the day, though, when these people get the most support from the American public, when they go most viral online, when they get the most, donations from MAGA voters, is when they are openly fighting back against, Biden's Ministry of Truth, or they're openly fighting back against the Ukraine, the $45 billion bill that they put forward, or they're fighting back against something like that. It's not like they go viral in a good way amongst the American public when someone like MTG says that America's a Christian nationalist country. That's not what the overwhelming majority of America wants or believes. They go viral in a good way when they call out the agenda that is surrounding, the FBI being weaponized to go after Donald Trump, for example, or stuff like that.
That's like 1%, though, Jackson. That's like 1% of the other 99% is their culture war. That's like 1% of what they do. That's 99% culture war is what they do, though.
I disagree with you. And I think
that you have a different outlet. I want to get your TV subscription because I don't know what it was a joke, Jackson. I'm just joking.
Why? Okay, so
I'm listening to the same thing. I'm just getting a different take on some of these people. Like, I hear a lot of culture war. Maybe it's this, Jackson, because I'm only hearing from them when they're on CNN or MS, because I don't go to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, I don't know where she would be an outlet that would be talking about.
She's got her own show.
Believes in, like, I don't do that. The only time I see her is when she's on these. So maybe that's it. Maybe I need to do a deeper dive into not just her, but like some of the people you named, because I am getting a slanted view when I only see them on CNN and MSNBC. So what I'm saying is I want to give you the benefit of the doubt by at least checking those people out to see what you're talking about.
I would. And those people are great. I mean, Robert Barnes is a guy I've had on my show a couple times, and I've been on his show. He was the guy who prepped the pardon paperwork for Julian Assange and Edward Snowden that was placed on Donald Trump's desk. And he was in the room when Donald Trump chose not to sign them. These people are the heartbeat, the pulse of the MAGA movement. And that's why they are so popular online with, like, average Americans. It's of course,
it's not the culture war stuff. It's not the culture war, because it feels from the outside looking in, it feels like it's the culture war stuff is the reason why they're popular.
I really don't think that I don't think that those people engage in the culture war all that much. I think the only reason why people like and I'm differentiating these people from the Robert Barneses, the the Durans, the Viva and Barneses, these sorts of people. The only reason why Charlie Kirk's and Ben Shapiro's are so popular is because if you look at them, they get millions and millions and millions of dollars in investment and funding from like the Koch brothers and from Dennis Prager. These populist MAGA people who are really truly guiding the movement, they do not get this crazy amount of funding. They don't get this sort of funding from like major, neoconservative or globalist aligned conservative institutions like that. Because they challenge it, but they're maybe not as popular, but they're still very, very popular, and arguably have a closer line to Donald Trump himself and the Trump family than any Charlie Kirk or Ben Shapiro does.
I take the point. Nick, did you want to get back to reading some? But and as I bring this down and you bring some more super chats up, because I think some may have some questions.
Is there anything else you want to add to this?
No. We're gonna move on from this. But I know, and we haven't even got to the other topics.
In terms of this discussion, I think we hashed out. I think we talked about everything. Now we kind of doubling down on some things. And we got so many super chats.
Not on the topic though.
Yeah.
I just want to ask him: would you be open to RBN mediating the discussion between you and Ben Shapiro about about policy topics?
You mean Ben Norton or Ben Shapiro?
What did I? Ben Norton. Ben Norton. Ben Norton, not Ben Shapiro. Yeah, Ben Norton. I said Ben Shapiro, but Ben Norton and you. Would you be open to RBN sort of playing mediator for a discussion on some of the policy differences, if there is any.
I would, but here's why I'm going to tell you I don't think he'll do it, because if I ever get on the same stream as Ben Norton or in the same room as Ben Norton, I am committed to bringing up what he did to the gray zone. I will 100% bring that up, and I don't think he wants to address that.
That's gonna get messy real quick too. That's gonna get messy.
I mean,
at least can you bring it up at the end after all the policy?
Well, no, and here's why. If Ben is going to virtue signal about how I'm a fascist and I'm not a true Marxist, then he should have to answer the question as to why he thinks it's so comradely of him to, be a criminal and steal the labor of his former colleagues, and still to this day steal all their Patreon money from the Moderate Rebels podcast. He needs to answer those questions before he LARPs and virtue signals about me not being a true Marxist. That would be the first thing I bring up in a conversation with him.
Point taken. Point taken. Go ahead, Nick, with the super chat.
Hey, it is what it is. I'm not here to play referee.
We have
our beefs. They have their beefs. It is what it is. It is what it is. So, Jackson, I know you only had like 5 minutes. Just based on what you said earlier. So I'm gonna take advantage of this. We got a ton of super chats. There's no way we're gonna get through all of them in 5 minutes. We're gonna get to them in the rest of the show. So I just want to do a quick segment while we got Jackson here, just because this is something I want to talk about earlier, later on anyway. I'm gonna start with this way. I'm gonna pass it to you here, Jackson. Despite what the Biden administration have been trying to do, they've been trying to gaslight people about the economy. They've been trying to redefine what a recession means. And what we said, I don't care what capitalists use to define a recession or not. It's just a matter of fact that the Biden administration, neoliberal capitalism, has failed American workers once again. So they always come up with these ridiculous metrics to gauge how the economy is doing. For example, they said during the child tax credit, they said we passed a child tax credit that lifted children out of poverty. But what they didn't tell you is that poverty for if you're a single mom with 2 kids, the poverty rate is like $23,000. So congrats, you took a single mom who made $22,000 a year. Now she made $26,000 a year, and you pat yourself on the back. Feel free to interrupt me anytime, Jackson. But I want to show you guys this story because this is how I really gauge the economy. Fuck all the metrics that they use. U.S. household net worth falls most on record. U.S. household net worth decreased by $6.1 trillion in the second quarter. That's a record. Meanwhile, while they're doing this, they're sending more aid to Ukraine. Joe Biden is adding 100,000 more cops on the streets while this is going on. So you have any initial take? Do you see the headline, Jackson, of the U.S. household income is falling?
And it's not just the US, it's the collective West as a whole. I mean, everyone is saying right now in these high influential financial positions, they're saying, well, we'll be fine to make it through winter in the West because, people have COVID money to still fall back on. That's not true. And we all know that's not true if you are, working class, or if you are, not in the uber rich of this country right now. But for the first time, there was a stat that just came out. For the first time, dating back to at least 1975, I saw on the graph, and it didn't happen in 1975, but that's just as far back as the graph went. We now, for the first time, have global real disposable income that has crashed more than over 2% year over year. So this hasn't ever happened in like modern history before, yet they're trying to paint it off as some sort of a rosy picture that's not as bad as it actually is.
Yeah, and you should have a progressive left. That's the main thing they're bringing up. That should be the main concern, is the global collapse of our economy. That is a controlled demolition by the West. I always debate whether it's controlled demolition or whether they thought they can win this. But I think I do lean more towards, I think that they wanted to tank this on purpose. They wanted to crush the workers and remind them of their place. And while this is happening, while you have our people struggling, while you have in Africa, there's about to be a major famine in Africa because of the decision that our ruling class is making. While that's happened, we have progressives that are complicit in increasing the stock of weapon defense contractors when they vote to expand NATO, vote arms for Ukraine. They all voted for arms to Taiwan. So this is why me and Jackson, we accurately paint our enemies as the neoliberal establishment, meaning the AOCs and the progressives that worship Zelensky. So I went. This is why I want to go over this story while I have you on. Because this is the headline I saw earlier. Now they're just out in the open with it. They're not even trying to hide it. So as U.S. household net worth falls, you have Zelensky headlining U.S. defense industry conferences. They just open about the alliances, Jackson. CJ, you have anything you want to add to this before we get you out of here, Jackson?
I'll let Jackson, since he's going to be leaving in a couple of minutes, I'll let him chime in first.
Yeah, you're right. They're not hiding it. That's what needs to be said about this. I mean, we still don't have clean drinking water in Flint or in Jackson, Mississippi, yet they are sending billions over there and having, Zelensky come and headline this event. And the reason why is because, though there's all this fanfare about the Kharkov offensive in Ukraine, the war is not going well. Nothing has changed substantively over the course of the entire front of this war in Ukraine. And winter's approaching, and anyone who knows their history knows that it's a bad idea to fight Russia in the dead set of winter. Right now, NATO isn't even able to supply Ukraine with, let alone weapons that they need. But also the main issue is Ukraine's been speaking out about the fact that NATO can't supply them, and for some reason hasn't supplied them with winter military garb. So how are they supposed to fight against Russia without winter military garb? This is going to go very poorly, and that's why they're parading Zelensky out. And this is all timed perfectly, because what happened last week was you had EU officials who met with Zelensky and basically told him, look, you need to present us with some sort of a substantive win that we can highlight and show the rest of the world to merit sending you more weapons, because so far all it's been is constant L's, and we've been covering for you in the media. Well, the Kharkov offensive was a good attempt at that, and it actually succeeded in that. You had a region of Ukraine which, Russia was discussing pulling out of. They had no reinforcements there. I think many people would be right to point out that they were probably soon to pull out of the region because they were getting bogged down there. And Ukraine sent all of their men at that region, 20,000 men. And now it's getting lit up by Air Force, but Russia's not sending infantry back in there. So Ukraine can parade this around. But at the end of the day, how did Russia respond? Knocking out 50% of the electric grid in Ukraine. They could have done this at any point during the war. They tried to play nice. Now the gloves are off.
I was going to ask you about this big Ukraine offensive that the media is propping up, that they're talking about. Because I remember they did the same. They mentioned the same thing in April. Then Russia immediately got all the grounds back that that the media said that they lost. I saw Breaking Points. They just had a segment today where they were pretty much sound exactly like MSNBC. On this. I can't wait to watch it. No, I was talking about tonight. They they premiered it this morning. I was talking about that. I watched Ukraine, MSNBC, and CNN segment just so I can see what the enemy says. I told you guys, you do that all the time. I watched this Breaking Point segment. It's exactly the same. I
can't wait.
It's laughable, Jackson. It's laughable.
I'm gonna watch it later.
I want to get. Do you have anything you want to add to that? Because I think this is a clear, and it may have the gains, but I think this is also a ploy for them so they can continue to sell the idea of sending in weapons, right? But Jackson, I want to get your legitimate take on that.
They took about 1/40th of the land that Russia's taken throughout the entirety of this war. It was about 2,000 square kilometers. Russia has created very strong defensive lines along the Oskol River and to the south, the Seversky Donetsk River. And there's anything could happen. War is full of surprises. We know that. But I don't really see it as being likely that these lines are going to be threatened substantively. And again, initially, I didn't think this was the case, but based on all the information I've seen presented, and now it kind of makes sense. Why did Russia not have any resources there? Why did they not have any reinforcements there? Why did they pull out of Izium so quickly? Why were they able to get all of their military equipment out of there if this was some sort of a forced, rushed, hasty retreat? Well, the answer was it was not a forced, rushed, hasty retreat. They were planning for this. That's why there was only National Guardsmen and policemen in this region. And when they saw that Ukraine was coming, they made the final decision and said, okay, let's do it right now. Let's get out. And like I said, this region was doing Russia no favors. They were getting bogged down there. They had no big successes there. They weren't able to really push through to Slavyansk as much as they wanted to. So they pulled out. They sacrificed that land. Maybe they'll go back. Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov says he promises to get that land back, although he's usually quite boisterous in his claims surrounding, territorial grabs. I don't know if they'll go back. I don't know if it really makes a lot of sense for them to go back there. But this, at the end of the day, does not impact the overall outcome of the war. Russia's still going to do what they want to do. And if they escalate this to a full all-out war, then they'll really be able to do whatever they want to do.
I don't know how much of the coverage.
That's the saddest part of all, because we should just have peace. We should have a peace deal, and this should be the end of it.
I don't know how much of the coverage you've seen, but the coverage I have seen, and there was a tweet by some liberal neocon shill where he was like, this is another example why this invasion was a giant miscalculation by Putin. And all the coverage I've seen, they was like, this is the turning point. Russia is lost. So they did last time. Go ahead, Jackson. I know you
they did an offensive in Kherson in the south. That failed, and they lost thousands upon thousands of men. They did an offensive in the Liman region, which is south, but on that same border of Kharkov. That failed. They lost a lot of men. They're planning on offensive towards the Mariupol region. We'll see how that goes. They actually have a lot of men amassed there. Ukraine does, but Russia does too. So there's going to be a lot of people lost there. And then the Kharkov offensive, Russia lost no men virtually, and Ukraine lost. People are saying 3,000 to 5,000 men. So this is not some sort of like broader indication of the sway of the war. This is definitely a tactical win for Ukraine, but a strategic blunder, I think, is the best way of putting it. And on that note, I do have to go.
Yeah,
so thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks,
the conversation.
Jackson. Thank you, Jackson, for joining.
In good debate.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jackson, for coming on.
All right.
We'll
I'll
put
see you
you
guys.
in the back. We'll put you in the background. Thanks for joining today. It's a lot of comments. We're definitely not going to get through them, but do you want to
some of these stories I have
some more super chats?
Some of these stories I have prepared today, I might just do tomorrow on RBN Live. So let's
I can stay on unless you have to go.
I have another story I can do. I definitely say
we can do the stories in the title at least and then be out. Yeah, we can do that because when we start early, I have a lot more time because I don't have to pick up my daughter until 4:30 your time. So
so
my room is
still at work too. So let's see. I started a lot of comments. We're really behind. I'm gonna start from the bottom up.
Yeah, so let's just go through the comments.
I'll start from the bottom and see until we get to some chats that look familiar. Thank for the $5. CB, didn't Ben Doran call MLK a fascist for working with LBJ on passing civil rights bill, asking for a friend?
I don't know if he did. Maybe
or they may be talking about the contradiction there. I'm not sure, but thank you for the comment. I think they might be saying, did Ben Doran call MLK a fascist for working with him? You know what I mean?
Like he shouldn't work with them. Yeah. And the thing
So
is,
it made me
there are anti-imperialists. There are anti-imperialists who do have the stance that Ben has, which is zero, like zero, like tolerance, or zero, like affiliation, background, like nothing. And he has a hardline stance. So you can continue, Nick.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for 499. You guys should invite Steve Grumbine from Real Progressives and finally start learning and talking about MMT. Maybe we might.
He's talking about Steve that's been on, like, I'm sure you know he is. He has
probably.
He's been on Status Quo. He goes on Status Quo a lot. He has him talking.
Thank you for $2. You guys need to have a MAGA Republican on.
We can't find one.
I'm willing to have Candace Owens on, and that is going to be the most hilarious conversation, you guys. That would be hilarious. But
the thing is, Jackson describes MAGA as she's a fake. Like, did he? Wouldn't you say like she would be like a fake one if by
Candace Owens? Like she had some tweets where she was like, "Yeah, we need to free Julian Assange," right? So she did this head fake where people were like, "Oh damn, Candace Owens." But Candace Owens support Donald Trump, who did not do anything to support Julian Assange. Like MAGA had their guy in office, and he did not pardon Julian Assange. You guys understand what the problem is here? You guys see how it's kind of similar to AOC, where they say good things, but they support the problem. So I would love to ask Candace about that. Like, hey, you say Candace Owens, you support Julian Assange, right? Why do you support Donald Trump, who did not pardon Julian Assange? Do you guys see the problem here? I would love to ask him those things. Remember when Donald Trump called out Saudi Arabia in the campaign trail?
Yeah.
He was like, hey, yo, Hillary Clinton is tied to the corrupt Saudis. And then he took office and then started taking Saudi Arabia money and then started doing their bidding, getting them weapons deals. So, like, these things I would love to talk to a MAGA person about. Like, why is that okay? Why do you guys pretend that Donald Trump is anti-imperialist when he clearly support imperialist forces? I don't know. I would love to hear a MAGA person explain to me. Anyway, thank you for 999. Ryan Unfinished. Why even bring up Fox talking points like 3-year-olds on hormones? Whether you agree or not, why even feed into this issue that divides us? And we want to bring the working class right on our side. I'm not sure what this is referring to, but RBN is not a channel where we just hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Like if you look for a channel,
it's a drive-by. This is a drive-by. This is what we call, Nick, drive-bys. These are people that don't commonly listen to us.
That's some Karen. How dare you?
But they for whatever reason, usually the topic or the person, they'll come across, oh, this is interesting, and they finally hear us and they think we're like every other channel and we're not. So we'll put your comment up even if you're critiquing us, and two, your critique anyway, I'll leave it there. Because two is different.
If you guys are uncomfortable with barbershop style conversations,
this is not the place for you.
Jackson clearly is. Jackson, he's been in here twice. Jackson clearly at least comfortable with the environment, right? So if you're one of the people that like leave Jackson alone, oh my God, you guys are so mean to Jackson. Apparently he doesn't feel that way, right? So toughen up. Thanks for the $50, Samuel. Some anti-imperialist left-wing analysis in Mexico use the term globalist. For example, Alfredo Julife. But yeah, very interesting. I don't know that guy. That's very interesting. Thanks for the addition there.
Well, it could be the same reason that. So just because somebody in Mexico or somebody in Iran or somebody, I don't see, like they could have the same influence on why they use the term globalism the same. So what's the difference? Like neoliberalism and capitalism is global. It's everywhere. So they could have the same influences. But continue, Nick.
Thank you for the $5. We have to unite. Marxists are less than 1% of the population.
That's people who read ideology and identify that way, because there's a lot of people who have critiques of capitalism. They just don't know they may have critiques because they see it as a different way because people are telling them it's something else. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly it, CJ. If you the people that I talk to overwhelmingly agree with me on policies, you got Marxist tendencies, guys. Whether you guys want to call it, yeah, that's exactly what you said today. Whether you want to call it or not, I got so many people that agree with me on the balance of power between the ruling class and the workers. If you agree with that, whether you want to call yourself a Marxist or not is irrelevant to me.
Right.
Because like I said, I don't really care about labels like that. I just want you to agree with me. So thank you for the $5. Thank you for the $10, Drake. Fox universalism is rainbow fascism.
Fake user, yeah.
Yeah, aka social democracy, the institutionalization of competing socialites aggregated under the control of the rentier class, monopoly, finance, capital, imperialist.
Mm-hmm.
That's a smart ass comment, Drake. I was tongue-tied for that one. Good. Thank you for the $10. Thank you for $5. Dissonant rage. Being a socialist means working towards a system without competition and power over others. Bigots without institutional powers are just bad neighbors. Well said, Dissonant. I don't have anything after that, but that's a good comment. Thank you for the $5, Mecca. I promise I don't just donate to complain. All love at the end of the day. Yeah, listen, I'm not like, bro, I don't give it is what it is. Like, you guys see how I handle this shit. You guys see how I handle this shit. This is not the Snowflake channel. Like
I pretty much handle my I handle my shit just like a comedian does. Like a comedian on stage, somebody heckling. If you can heckle the right way, or you can heckle the wrong way, and I'm gonna come and like either way, like I'm gonna do it the same way the comedian would do it.
Alliance of Left MAGA. Did I read this one already? Sources of Poison. Yeah, I read this one already. I think we may be caught up. Let's see. What this one? Yeah, I think we caught up now. Nice. A lot of super chats today. So
can you go up 2 more above that?
Yeah, I think we
from what
sorry, we got one more.
Because maybe one of them was out of order, so you might have to, you know what I mean? It might be one in between that we hit and just to check. I don't think we did this one. Do you remember?
$5. The World Economic Forum is the enemy, not Republicans. But what about the Republicans who support the World Economic Forum? Like, these are the questions I'm asking. What about those? The UNWEF globalists are working towards, like, this is my question. Like, do you guys think it's only Democrats? I don't get it. Like, we agree that the World Economic Forum is the enemy. But why you guys say they're not Republicans? There are Republicans who are part of the World Economic Forum. Both parties are the problem. If you guys want to come to RBN and clean up the Republican Party, I'm not going to play along with it. That's a ridiculous idea. Republicans and Democrats are fascist, capitalist, imperialist, authoritarians. Repeat that with me, guys. Stop doing this shit where you guys are trying to clean up Republicans. I'm not going along with it. I live in Missouri. Guys, you're not going to get me to agree that the Republicans is a lesser of two evils than the Democratic Party. Both of them suck. Can we say it? Why is that so hard for you guys to say? I agree with you on the World Economic Forum stuff, but stop pretending Republicans don't suck. They do.
But the term now, because my wife watches a lot of this Great Reset stuff, so I think that it has to be another topic. Probably next week we need to cover Great Reset, because a lot of these terms you'll see WEF all the time in globalists all the times in these conversations and these chats of people that are talking about Great Reset. So we need to dive into that, because
you're sorry, go ahead, CJ. Go ahead.
No, but I think you're gonna go to the place, but you'll say it better. So I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah, so it's like
I'll let you go.
The Republicans are part of the Great Reset theory. They are part of the system that keeps us moving. I don't know why people pretend otherwise. And when I say I'm against the two-party duopoly, I'm against the two-party duopoly in all its forms. The pretenders, the fake progressives, the hardcore neocons, the neoliberals, all of them we are against. Anyone who feeds them power and anyone who buys into the lesser two evil ideology is granting them a favor. I need you guys to understand that. We got one last super chat, and then we say the rest before after our next story. Thank you for the 499. I wasn't criticizing you guys. I listen every day. Jackson keeps bringing up culture. Wait, what comment was that? Jackson keeps bringing up culture issues. I thought I was agreeing with y'all. Wait, what comment was that? Let me see. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah,
maybe we misread this wrong. Maybe we misread that wrong. Maybe.
No, not that one. Was it that one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he had another comment.
Yeah, maybe I misread this. It said, why even bring up Fox talking points like 3-year-olds? See, that, I thought you guys saw, and then it said, I wasn't criticizing you guys. Maybe talking about Jackson.
I listen every day. Jackson keeps. Oh, he was talking about Jackson.
I apologize. My bad.
He was talking about Jackson. I thought you were talking about us critiquing
Yeah,
Jackson.
okay.
Yeah, I read it the same way. You were using that terminology to talk about Jackson.
No, I was like, what are you talking about? That's why I was confused. I legitimately didn't understand
it. Yeah, I didn't get that first.
I get it now. My
our
bad.
apologies. Our apologies on that. Yeah, our apologies.
So, CJ, I had
No, you can go to your story, but I did have another story. Mine is a lot, quicker.
Mine
story, so I can do that.
Mine shouldn't be a long segment. I think this is a funner segment to do. Let's call the West. Let's talk. We'll talk about the royal family a little bit. Let me get this ready. So this is. Every time a member of the royal family dies, I go crazy. Every time the royal family is in the news, it reminds me of why I have nothing but disdain for Western culture. The West is everything that they project on their enemies. The same way that they pretend that the DPRK, for example, is an authoritarian country that worship their leaders, which I'm not saying that's true or false. I'm saying everything they project on them, they are guilty of. Yes. The coverage of the royal family should have all you guys concerned. This sycophantic behavior of the ruling class, and then you got white people expecting Africans to mourn the queen.
It's ridiculous.
There's white people.
So ridiculous.
They swore up and down they decry cancel culture, but there was black radicals that was being canceled literally by the same right wing who against. I'm talking about people literally losing their jobs. There were people in the UK terrified to question the queen, which is one thing, but now they bring it to the United States, trying to get black radicals fired from the position. And I got to bring this opportunity as a learning situation. So everything the West projects onto their enemy, we are. Look, decolonize your mind and view England without the bias that you've been raised up with. And if you're able to do that, you will realize that England is a deeply unserious clown country. And that's what this segment is all about. So this is what, and if you guys think I'm being harsh, think about how they talk about the DPRK, and I'm bringing that same energy to them. The same way they criticize Cuba, I'm about to bring that same energy to the Western countries to show you guys they are the worst evil. Everything they say about the DPRK, everything they say about Cuba, everything they say about Venezuela is the UK. Now let's go to the first receipt. And people don't even realize this. There's a Michael Walker dude. And this is why I come in with this energy. Look, 18,000 likes for this garbage tweet. Which there's a part of it I can agree with. The BBC is going for North Korea. They're going, and the same in U.S. media. I'm asking you guys this question. We are a country that was founded on rebelling against the royalty. Why the fuck do we have royalists in this country?
Right. That doesn't make any sense.
I need to calm down because you guys can see the anger. I've been going crazy ever since. I've been going crazy. You can't avoid it. Like I try my best to avoid dumb shit. You can't avoid royal news.
Yeah.
Twitter is everywhere. So I'm just feeding.
Yeah. It's everywhere, Nick. I went on every channel. It's all over, wall to wall. I went to the newspapers. It's like 10 stories on CNN's front page, different stories all connected to this shit. I was like, oh, that's why I'm glad this topic fell out, because we would have not much to talk about without this shit.
How are you guys not disturbed? Like when you turn on the media and you see the royal, like I watched 5 minutes of CNN's royal coverage, and I felt like I was gonna puke. I was like, we live in the most insane propagandized dictatorship known to man. You got everyone on the panel praising, including they found the Negroes too, to praise these psychopathic royal monsters. Like there's no country that is more state media than us. So this guy said BBC is going full North Korea. No, they're going full England. This is your culture. This is something that Western chauvinists do all the time. They will say, oh my God, look at this problem that's going on in society. What are we, Asians? They look at, they always go to look at these barbaric societies. That's you. Look at the World Cup. It's just no different than what they accuse the DPRK of doing, what they accuse of Cuba of doing. Remember when Fidel Castro died, they were like, oh my God, people in Cuba are they've been forced to mourn his death.
Celebrate him.
When Kim Jong-il died, it was like the people in North Korea are being forced to mourn with no evidence, by the way. No evidence. They'll say they were being forced at gunpoint. Meanwhile, in the West, people are being fired for the Queen. CJ, do you understand why I've been seething over these last few days?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Which is, I'm sorry, I know I'm ranting like a motherfucker, but I've been waiting for 2 days for this segment. So Luna Oy.
I saw that.
Yeah, you know I'm going with this. Who I had on the show, I get back on. She did a great report that parodies the West. She does a great reporting in anti-imperialist journalism. I'm gonna show you her video. Here's a tweet. I'm gonna play that and then I'll play the video. Here's a tweet mocking the exact same thing I was talking about. She said, "Are the UK citizens being forced to mourn for the deceased dynastic dictator Elizabeth?" You guys see what happens when you use the same language? When you use the same language that they use against their enemies, you realize that everything is a projection. I love this tweet so much.
Yes.
Are UK citizens being forced to mourn for the deceased dynastic dictator? That's exactly how they describe their enemies, right? But that's literally what Elizabeth was. So let's watch Luna's reporting. Big shout out to her. This is great stuff.
Tonight, the so-called United Kingdom is planning the state funeral for Queen Elizabeth II, whose final days were steeped in mystery and silence from official representatives of the royal family, who kept her illness and condition tightly under wraps until announcing suddenly on state media that the Queen has indeed died at the age of 96. For over a year, many have speculated about the health of Queen Elizabeth, with some sources claiming that Elizabeth has been dead or at death's door for days.
Sorry, I had to pause it there because if you don't know, this is exactly how they covered the death of Fidel Castro and of Kim Jong-il. They're like, oh my, state media finally confessed that they died after hiding this. Like, there's some people that said they were dead for a long time, but they got so much propaganda. You guys see this? What she's doing?
Yeah.
This is exactly what we did to other countries, and this is why people have no idea what life is like in North Korea, the DPRK. And then whenever people visit the DPRK, people come back and they say, "Yo, everything the West says about North Korea is a lie. Things are actually it's not great because of sanctions, but things are relatively normal. Like people are not just executed in the streets like they claim." Then whenever people say that, they're like, "Oh my God, North Korean propagandists. That was an act." Guys, what is more believable? What is more believable? The fact they say the only reason it seems normal over there is because they set up fake cities and fake towns with fake businesses and fake guys. What is more likely? The fact that they set up a fake city on a moment's notice, or the fact that the West may be lying about the DPRK? Which one is more likely?
Especially when you understand when you understand that the U.S. is a bad actor. You have to start from that premise.
And guys, social democrats and the guy who I quote tweeted, Michael Walker. Let me share my screen again. Guess where he is? A social fucking democrat. Social democrats believe all CIA talking points on imperial enemies of capital. Look at this guy. Social democrat. Now you guys wonder why we go hard on these people? These are the Cenk Uygurs and the Sam Cedars who be like, oh my God, DPRK is authoritarian fascist dictatorship. Why they live in the United States? Why they literally sanction that country?
Completely unserious. My opinion.
So anyway, I just want to bring that point up too. That's why I had to go after this guy. These social democrats, they repeat state talking points all the time. And for the first time, we are here to tell you guys the bullshit you hear from TYT, Majority Report, and all these big social democrat channels about some of these countries is false. When you hear about Cuba, it's false. When you hear about Venezuela, it's false. When you hear about the DPRK, it's false. The countries are not perfect. But considering that they have a giant capitalist empire that is sanctioning them to death, I think they're doing the best they can. And as leftists, it's our job to show solidarity with them and fight against the empire that is forcing their people into economic ruin. Not be armchair quarterbacks, criticizing the government we had no control over. Let's criticize the one thing we had control over, the fact that we are ruining the lives of North Koreans. Anyway, I went on a mini rant. Now I'm going to play the video. Sorry. I'm going to play the video from the beginning.
Yeah, you can finish.
And I'm going to play it without stopping. And then I'm going to show you guys that. And then I'll get to the rest of it here. Fuck, man, this segment already going too long.
Until announcing suddenly on state media that the Queen has indeed died at the age of 96. For over a year, many have speculated about the health of Queen Elizabeth, with some sources claiming that Elizabeth has been dead or at death's door for days, weeks, or even months. The authoritarian government of the UK has long kept issues related to the health and conditions of the elderly dynastic monarch, a closely held secret which has long been a taboo subject for the public at large in England and its occupied colonies of Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. The Queen's heir, formerly Prince Charles, a friend, brother, and adamant defender of various notorious sex traffickers and pedophiles, now King of England, choked back what appeared to be real tears as he gave a solemn vow of goodbye.
He is truly not ready for prime time. The Americans themselves are also, he's a nonce and a bit of a wanker in it.
Today, most of the public displays a grief beggared belief.
My very, very earliest memory was of her coronation when I was about 2.5. And she's been the warp and weft of our life throughout all our sort of humble daily doings. She's just always been there. You know, she's on the postage stamp, she's on the Royal Mail boxes, she's just been there forever. But she was just always there, and therefore she was always going to be there. And now suddenly, you know, the nation's mother, grandmother, great-grandmother has suddenly, what seems suddenly gone.
Blind. Part of this is political. It's manufactured. It's acquired on the part of the citizens. But you cannot discount that some of this is quite genuine, Governor.
That was great by Luna.
It's that video was brilliant. And you guys see how she showed, and that is just one clip. You guys see that sycophant at the end talking about the Queen? Yeah. That's all day, every day on mainstream media. On the coverage of the Queen.
But it also illustrates, in the coverage on mainstream media, it illustrates that what I said many times, it's never taken into account when considering you a great person, a hero, what you've done to Black, brown, and indigenous people. That doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. What you did in Kenya is irrelevant, Queen. Right. You're great to us. You get what I'm saying? Like it's
terrible. It's so evil. It's so evil what our empire is doing. This is why I'm framing it this way. Because that's the same thing they taught us to be afraid of the DPRK for doing. The exact same, that lady they showed at the end is no different. I remember they used to show these videos of people crying like, "Oh my God, look how sycophantic the North Korean people are to their leader." They're the same thing the West is to their queen. And let me show you guys something. And this is why I said the UK is a ghetto-ass, uncivilized country. I've been learning a lot more about the monarchy, and every time I learn something about the monarchy, it makes my skin crawl. What kind of fucking country is this? Let me show you guys this. Ghetto-ass country. The Queen's personal assets will now be passed down to Charles III once he officially takes the throne. Due to a special legal clause that aims to avoid erosion in the royal family's wealth, he won't pay a 40% inheritance tax. What kind of shit is this? So they literally, for one, worship royal family's wealth. They don't have to pay taxes that other people have to pay. But you guys think you think the West has the nerve with this ghetto ass country to criticize anyone else? This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. This is something that everyone should mock.
You should hear the coronation. You should hear what they read when they're passing, going from the queen to the. In the passage, Nick, it says, I'm paraphrasing, it talks about how the monarch has been ordained by God.
Yeah, it's so
and
crazy.
people are still following this. Like, you have this power and what you're doing because it's been given to you by God. And that's what they were saying for the newly crowned King Charles, or whatever the fuck that guy's name is.
And people wonder why I'm not impressed with Western society. People were like, "Oh my God, if you hate the West so much, why not move somewhere else?" I would have went for language barrier. I'm not impressed. Like, when I look at England and UK and this royalty worship, this is garbage ass culture. And UK people they're gonna be cringing at me, but I don't care what they say. This is garbage.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna show you guys.
Force it down our throat. Force it. Go ahead.
I got two more quick clips I want to do to wrap this up, because we talking about the ridiculousness that the UK royalty they subject on their people. And why do they accept this? The fact that they don't have to pay inheritance tax, the fact that they have all these benefits that the taxpayer pays for. And you had someone on Sky News that essentially said, hey, pretty much the public just accepts this. If they wanted to overthrow the monarchy, they should, which I think they should. Watch this video. I think this is pretty interesting because they say the quiet part out loud here. I want to get your response, CJ. Hold on, let me mute my mic here.
It's fascinating.
It is, and as Lord Bottomley, we were talking to him, was referring to this and saying how, you know, some people will say, well, you know, how come we've got a royal family? It's not very democratic. The fact of the matter is, it is democratic, you know, until we have a revolution. It's democratic in the sense that the British public is laissez-faire about changing it.
You know what you say?
Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up. You gotta know what you just said. CJ, go ahead. I want you to finish your thought.
I think you're going to the same place, because what I was gonna say is what you say about voting. What you say about voting, which is you think you're just picking the lesser of two evils. No, they take your shit as a mandate. So they're taking the people's unwillingness or lack of execution to end the monarch as them saying, no, they want it.
That's exactly what it is. They literally daring you guys. They said, yeah, I know our society is stupid. I know we grant these undemocratic privileges to these people that no one, that that many of the working class people don't like. But hey, you guys not doing a revolution. You guys giving us, by your passive acceptedness of having a royal family, you are agreeing with us. And I'm glad you brought that up, CJ, because that proves our thesis correct. Our thesis of, if you join their side, if you imagine you join their side, that's the ruling class. Like, hey, yo, you giving us your approval. If you're progressive, you think you're gonna change the Democratic Party? You're not. You giving them their approval. So they're like, hey, yeah, we funding the police more because we said we was gonna do it. You voted for us anyway. That's the same thing they do with the royal family. The UK is like, hey, you guys not in the streets, you guys not forcing us to change, so we need to keep robbing you guys.
We're gonna keep having these sexual predators. You're not doing anything about it.
So one last video I want to share. Have a few more. I'm gonna cut the show a little shorter by showing this video. This guy accidentally said a quiet part out loud. And he burst a bubble that was going on, this royal family bootlicking on MSNBC. And I thought it was stream fast. Now I'll just play the clip and I'll let you react to it. I don't want to preface it too much. Here it is right here.
You played a clip of her speaking in Cape
Yeah,
Town
I saw that.
in 1947 in
Right.
South Africa.
Right.
That's the year apartheid took effect in South Africa. That was something that British colonialism ushered in. British colonialism, which she presided over for all these years, had a terrible effect on much of the world. It's something that people revolt from. And I have to say, to your earlier question, why are American news networks dedicating all of this time to Queen Elizabeth's funeral? I think it's a good question. I mean, I think it's something, there's a weakness in the American character that still yearns for that era of hereditary privilege, which is the very thing that we escaped from.
And they practice it every time. It's called white privilege, hereditary privilege, Nick. It's reincarnated. They're just remaking it. They're remaking that's what this is.
That's exactly what it is, CJ. And that's such an exclamation mark on the because why is CNN and MSNBC doing glowing coverage of a monarchy of another country?
Right. And we're a democracy. We're supposed to be a democracy.
We're a democracy doing glowing coverage of a monarchy we rebelled against. Guys, remember the coverage we did earlier? They want you to treat politicians as celebrities. They want you to treat the ruling class as someone you worship, even if it's a ruling class outside of the country, because they're allies with the UK. You guys see this subtle programming by the media of the people? This is why I thought this was important to cover. And now you have Africans that are being forced to mourn the death of the Queen that destroyed their people. You guys know that Kenyans, for all the people that say reparations is unrealistic, you guys know they paid reparations to Kenyans that they enslaved under Queen Elizabeth? But then black radicals are being canceled because white people don't understand that imperialism has consequences. These are real people. They talk about it as if it's theory. They say, 50 years ago, in Kenya and England did atrocious things to the Kenyan people, as if they're not people that are going to have kids and they got to have lived the consequences of this. So then they take those people and say, shut up about these old travesties. You mean the travesty that happened within our lifetime? The people that still live the consequences of this stuff. And then they demand that you are loyal to the Queen, that you demand that you worship the Queen. CJ, you know in Kenya, they had a 4-day period of mourning for the Queen. Their government, that a lot of people in Kenya don't like, that a lot of them are loyalists, because just like our black ruling class, they got a lot of ruling class in Kenya that turned against their own people. So they are royalists, worshiping the people that fucking destroyed their lives.
Yeah, they destroyed their lives, took their resources. It's crazy. It's crazy. So we're talking about Kenya. So let's show the visual images.
I'm so glad you brought all this.
Let's show the visual images of that.
And this can be the last thing we show in this segment, and we go to your next one.
Yes, last thing right here.
And land theft. They're seeking a reported $200 billion.
If you go to Kericho, they will tell you that the British never left. The status quo is not acceptable, it's not sustainable, and the resistance is moving in the right direction.
British colonizers forced Talai and Kipsigi's people off their land in Kericho County to make tea farms for white settlers between 1895 and 1963. More than 500,000 Kenyans suffered human rights violations, including killings, sexual violence, and torture, as British forces stole their land. Kenya is one of the largest black tea exporters in the world, and to this day, multinational corporations like Lipton and Unilever continue to profit from the land. Those two companies did not immediately respond to an AJ Plus request for comment.
They should precisely bear in mind as they enjoy that cup of tea, that cup of tea has a history of domination, colonialism, exploitation, and basically slave labor. When people have that kind of consciousness, they can call their companies to account.
Wealthy countries continue to benefit from the exploitation of the global south for cheap labor and raw materials. In Kenya, farm workers for flour exporters say they usually earn around $3 a day, well below a living wage. And many have reported being sexually harassed by their supervisors.
If people knew the exploitation of young women in places where these flower plantations exist, they will probably not participate in the celebrations of Valentine's Day.
After fierce resistance, British colonial rule ended in Kenya in 1963. But the former empire has largely avoided confronting its bloody past. Now, the Corricho case has been brought to the European Court of Human Rights because the UK has failed to address these colonial crimes. In response to an AJ Plus request for comment, the UK government said it would be inappropriate to comment on legal proceedings.
The fact that the British continue to ignore these claims and just basically dismiss them is an act of gross inhumanity and injustice. This is an issue that will not go away, and they have to respond to it. And the Caribbeans will raise the same issue. The people from India, they are still calling for reparations as well.
It's not often that the UK provides reparations, but in 2013, the country provided a compensation settlement of around $30 million to over 5,000 elderly Kenyans who the British
I thought that was impossible.
used during the Myanmar uprising for Kenyan independence.
The British should pay reparations, and they've started doing that, so they should continue.
So yeah, that video will end that segment. But go ahead, you can go ahead and comment. You were going to say something about just to kind of wrap it up. Yeah,
we can wrap it there. I want to do that story because this is why I have the politics I do. That's why I reject Western chauvinism, because I see through their shit, and it's unbelievable that people don't. Like when I see them talk, and that's why I watch MSNBC segment, CNN segment, not to watch the news, but I want to see what my enemy is saying. And whenever they say stuff, I can see through. I can see through the projection. It's unbelievable that people can. And when I see the UK coverage of the death of Queen Elizabeth, to me, it made me horrified. I don't understand why people are so comfortable in this society. I don't. This is why I fight to change it, right? But CJ, we can do your segment. It'll be the last one I got time for today.
Yeah, I mean, this is I was debating between the two, whether it's Steph Curry or the police. Let's
do Steph. Which one will be better for RBN Live tomorrow? Which one will be better? We can say the best one.
RBN Live, probably the police one, maybe. I don't know. Both of them are kind of
good, because either way, we do the one we don't do tomorrow.
Maybe the Steph Curry tomorrow, because Steph Curry, we need to talk about how celebrities and Black celebrities are being used as propaganda tools for the community. So maybe that could be a discussion. So either one. Do you have a preference? You have a preference of one you want to do today?
Dude, do you want?
Man, you wanted to do the chief of police.
To be honest, CJ, I kind of want to do both tomorrow. if I'm gonna be 100% honest.
Okay, we can do that. So
it'd be good to have JB there too. It'd be good to have JB on.
Yeah, so
one thing about like both the stories are really good RBN Live stories, and
the Steph Curry and the chief of police getting caught up in a sex trafficking ring. So we'll do those two stories. I'll take those out the title, everybody.
Because I don't want to.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
I'm getting kind of tired. I don't want to shortcut either story because I want to try to properly.
So we'll end it because we went long with the Jackson because we didn't plan for Jackson to join. So that added like another 40 minutes to that segment. So everybody, those two stories, we will add those for tomorrow. So I'll take them out the title, so it won't be any sort of misunderstanding. I will take those out the title on Rockfin and YouTube. I can't take it off of Twitter. It's already been posted. So those titles will be taken off, and we'll add those for tomorrow. So we can end here. Anything you're doing the rest of today?
It was a good show. It was a good show.
Anything you're doing?
And I also considering doing call-in tonight to talk about our conversation, because I wanted to do my call-in in the evening. I'm gonna try to move it there. So also we got a lot coming up. That was we can talk about the rest of RBN Live tomorrow. Brown Joy Gray joined us on Thursday at around the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And then I'm going to have Nico House on Friday. I'm going to try to aim to around the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern. So we got a lot of great guests, a lot of great content. So make sure you guys like and share and subscribe if you guys enjoy this, because we have a lot of lively conversation. We're going to have a lot more with the guests that we have coming up. So that's all I have to say. We have
so tomorrow, Tuesday, I'll be here roughly around this time. Maybe Nick, if you're available, if you wanted to join too. Don't know the topics yet. I think I'm gonna start, Nick, kind of waiting for topics, because if I would have created something already for this topic would not have been covered, because it kind of fell out of the air at the last Second, also Nick, we need to plan a stream for fundraising for JB before the month is out. So we gotta do that. So we got a lot of great things coming up that RBN is planning for. So with all your support, you've made it possible. So if you are able to support Patreon or us monthly, our Patreon is the best way to do that. And you just simply go to patreon.com/revolutionary blackout to find us. I'm going to end with a Michael Parenti video. But please like the stream on your way out. And make sure you join us tomorrow for RBN Live. And Nick, anything else before? Oh no, he already checked out. So I'll play the video. I didn't even know he checked out there. I'll go ahead and play the closeout video. This is Michael Parenti talking about I won't describe it. So I'll let the video speak on its own. The stream will end right after this video. Thank you for joining us. Here is Michael Parenti.
That the third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Most countries are rich. The Philippines are rich. Brazil is rich. Mexico is rich. Chile is rich. Only the people are poor. But there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. There's been billions for 400 years. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the flax, the hemp, the cocoa, the rum, the tin, the copper, the iron, the rubber, the bauxite, the slaves, and the cheap labor. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped, they're overexploited. That the third world is not